All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 9:07. And our committee is missing just Patrick and Joe Jean. Everyone else is here, I think. Is Dan here?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan. Item 1 is approval of the ACC meeting agenda for today. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed to that? Item 2, approval of the July 2nd ACC meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Is it
All in
minutes?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I guess that's unanimous, right?
Yep.
All right. We've got a lot of people waiting for item 12. So let's talk to them first. Everybody on board with this one? Yeah, we spoke to a few people. I think Pat and yeah, part of our committee spoke to them and looked at the site, and it looked like a pretty comprehensive plan. Since we have a big team here, why don't you tell us a little bit about anything we may need to know about this other than what you already sent?
Oh, hi, I'm David
Okay.
Delgado.
All right.
David, yes, please.
I'll go
Hi,
ahead
David.
and jump in here. So, what we have and what we're proposing is.
David, I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm David Delgado with J2 Building Consultants.
J2 Building,
We're the
okay.
architect and engineering firm, doing the exterior design for and waterproofing details for Lakeridge
Okay.
condominiums. So I'll just jump in and say a little bit about the project. So we're doing a complete, we have proposed a complete rehabilitation of the exterior of the buildings out at Lakeridge at 1 Lake Louise Drive. And so what we're here is to discuss, we have some a rendering of what the building is going to look like, and we're here to discuss to get that rendering approved and moving forward with the design. Now what we're doing is going to be a complete rehabilitation of the cladding and roofing on the project. We're still going to go with a plank look siding. We're not going to deviate much from where we're at now. We're just going to improve the waterproofing. Main item is improving the waterproofing details underneath the existing cladding and putting up so their building performs and functions. Right now, we've done a large investigation that included opening up parts of the building, being invasive, and found some damage that's been occurring here. So that's in a nutshell kind of what we're doing.
So everything that's existing now that we can see from the street will be replaced, other than the sloped roofs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Windows.
Yeah, this is Pat Fisher. I'm the president of the board
Hi, Pat.
at Lakeridge High. Yeah, everything that you see right now is basically the way in which it will look. It will just have a different outside. The sloping roofs are actually, excuse me, hidden behind another part of the building. So there will be no visibility at all from surroundings. That in fact, we have changed those roofings slightly to be more pitched than they currently are in order to improve the drainage and the sealing of the roofs.
Yeah, I just have I've got a couple of questions. I think this looks great conceptually. They're looking for just like a concept thumbs up from us right now, right? We're not.
Correct. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I think this looks great. I just walked by there yesterday and those condos are definitely, would,
Aging.
yeah, they're due for a facelift. Let's put it that way. The question, this says One Lake Louise Drive. I'm assuming this applies to all those condos there, right? This is,
Yeah, there are 8 buildings and all of them will be being done. We also have a community building by our pool. And at the moment, we're looking at options for that. So it will probably be an alternate bid when we actually go out for a bid on the entire job.
just a question more out of just curiosity. It says this is subject to the HOA membership approving this project. Do you have any sense as to what the appetite is for the HOA to approve this? Is this something that the folks there are on board with?
I would say we have 45 units altogether, so 45 owners. A number of them have been here for a number of years, so yes, they're fully in support. Some of the newer ones, I think, have yet to be brought on board with respect to the costing of this, which of course, obviously, we won't know until such time as we've gone out for bids. So that voting that we're talking about, that approval will not be occurring until, I would say, probably well into September, maybe early October.
All right, thank you.
It looks like in concept, I think we like this. It looks like a good idea. I mean, a necessary idea. What could change? The siding, I guess, could change from what we're looking at here, and the colors will probably change.
Yeah, we would have a much better idea about colors when we are closer to going out for bid. So that will be later in August, early September. But that's the only thing basically that will change. We've already gone through a discussion with a design team, which includes about 25% of the owners, 6 of the board members plus 6 volunteer design team members. And they have gone through a number of options which were presented to us by J2 originally, with different types of finish, cladding, etc. And the option that you now see is the result of those discussions and having gone from 5 options down to 1.
Okay.
Daniel, remind me of the process here. If this is a request for conceptual, we still take action on that, right?
I believe we do. Yeah, we have in the past. So it is with the understanding that it is an in-concept review. We vote on it, whether we accept this or not. So yeah, we would, but yeah, it is an in-concept review, certainly not an approval to move forward.
Yeah,
So there are some moving parts still. So
Sorry.
we look
Yeah.
forward to seeing what those will be.
Our anticipation is that we will be meeting with you again towards the end of the summer when we have engineering drawings and we're ready to go out for bid.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, in keeping with our new protocols, I would be prepared to make a motion if there's no more discussion on it.
My questions have been answered.
Well, I would make a motion to accept this in kind or this concept review and look forward to seeing the final, hopefully by the end of the summer sometime.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing this with us, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Okay, thank you.
Great, good luck.
Thanks, everybody, for
Thanks.
your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that'll look really nice. I go by there all the time. That's right on the way to our house, and that'll be a nice improvement to the whole neighborhood. So
It will, yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's see, yeah, knocks off a lot of people off of our chat list, doesn't it? All right, let's jump down to item 17. storage shed. This is a resubmission. We spoke with David a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
When we talked to you guys and we discussed the possibilities of resubmitting with a smaller footprint, so I went ahead and did that, and
yeah, I
Hopefully-
think that there were some mitigating circumstances for this. This is obviously there is a 10 by 10 storage unit limit, and yours is going beyond that a bit. You were asking for 10 by 20 last time, and that was just going a little bit too far beyond what we could accept. But since you did such a nice job with the design of it and the design of the area around it, we were willing to consider something a little bit larger. And I think we all suggested that we go up to this size that you're presenting now. It looks really good. The colors are consistent with your house. Everything else you've done with the house looks really nice. So considering that, I'm willing to consider this a variance for this. Any other comments,
Daniel?
anybody? Yes.
Daniel, quick question. David, on the back of the page where you show the shed, I don't see anything that gives a size or a dimension of the setback to the property line. I'm assuming you've got, how big is that?
setback. I kind of had the line out there when you guys visited a while
Okay,
back. But
okay.
it was, at that point, it was 5.5 feet, and I will make sure it has at least that 5 feet or better from that line. We have the room there to accommodate that, so
Yeah,
that
I was
should not.
just,
Yeah,
David, was that a driveway back there
the driveway.
behind the shed?
No, it wasn't behind the shed. The driveway was along the bottom line there,
Oh, okay.
and that's,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you, David.
yeah, you're welcome.
And the trees, are you cutting the same trees that you first proposed?
Yeah, the same 3 trees to accommodate that shed.
Okay.
And again, one is dead, and one's a very small.
Yeah, I remember that. Any other comments, anybody?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. You got a motion?
Motion to approve item 17 as submitted.
All approved? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these sheds, but he did move the needle in our direction, so I would vote yes.
Now, David, you would need to submit a variance for this also. Because this is a larger shed. So just add that to talk to Diane and get a variance request for this, because it is going beyond what the 10 by 10.
From application, the variance need to be approved by you folks as well, or can I?
Yeah, it has to be on the record. I mean, we have to say that this is a variance. It's not just something that we always approve, so that it's on the record that this is a variance. So Diane will walk you through that.
All right.
And
Alright.
John abstained, correct?
John abstained.
So it's
Dan
majority.
was good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I agree with Dan. We don't like this, but that's why I made a special trip to go out there and look at this, and he's done a really nice job. It looks good. Not something we're just gonna hand out to anybody, but because of how nice it works and the design works great. And it works within the property. So we do look at all these things, and that's the reason that I'm okay with it.
so when we have a vote like this, does it reflect it as like 3? It would be unanimous, because an abstention doesn't count as a no vote.
That's how
It's majority.
Yeah.
Is there a question about majority versus unanimous?
No, I was just curious. I mean,
Okay. And then I note who abstained or opposed. John, are you abstaining because you oppose?
I'm abstaining, out of principle and precedent.
So
So
you're
is that-
opposed.
Are
You're
you opposed or?
I'm abstaining.
I guess that's all he has to say.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you could see our resistance to handing out variances of any kind, really. I mean, there has to be a really compelling reason. In my mind, there is, and you can see their varying opinions on this. So this is not something we just hand out. But it is a really nice design, David.
Thank you.
Item 6. 7 Sanwick Place, Sanwick Point Court.
Robin, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry. Hi there. Do you want
Hi.
me to, do you have any questions or?
I had a question. It looks like that retaining wall you have now, how high is that? The railroad ties?
Yeah, it's pretty high. It goes, I think it's like, gosh, I don't actually know. I think it's maybe 12 feet high.
12 feet high?
It goes down to the base of the garage, like the driveway, and then up to the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really seeing any sort of engineering drawings. Are these bricks gonna hold that?
Did you not get the engineers? We have the engineering drawing that I sent over to Diane yesterday. Did
I
that get
see.
there?
I see one plan view. But
Joel, can you project that? We're seeing your Zoom screen.
Yeah, I'm showing you what I have here. I have two different files. They
We're seeing your Zoom screen, not the PDF.
oh, okay. Let me try again. All right, are you seeing it now?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, ooh, definitely have been working with an engineer on this.
Yeah, I mean, for my mind, I like the new brick that you're putting up there, and railroad ties aren't really allowed here anyway. And it looks like they're at the end of their life, but
Oh,
and
for
it
sure.
it looks like a good design choice. I was really concerned about, what I'm looking at here. I'm seeing engineered drawings now, so that does make me feel a little bit better.
Yes.
And the county has seen this and approved this.
We are going for permits right as we speak, so.
Okay. Yeah, visually and aesthetically speaking, I like your choice and I think it'll look nice. I just want to ensure that this is a good sound project that will hold up. That's a lot of dirt that it's holding up back there.
Yeah, yeah,
And
we've been working with the structural engineer on this for a while to make sure that it is sound.
Okay.
And if I understand the drawing correctly, it looks like it's very close to the road. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Cause that part, if you see in that one picture, kind of where the tarp is, so that's yeah, so the top where the garage is, so that's like it's a little bit of a parking spot there, and that is the road.
It looks
And
like that wall is
obviously-
pushed. Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I
Dan,
was just
go ahead.
gonna say, it looks like that wall is pushed up against the side of the garage. This
It
thing
is.
It does.
Yeah, it failed. So in January, it came crashing down. And so it is actually impaling our garage at the moment.
Wow.
So we're trying to really get this taken care of as soon as we can, because there's actually some damage to the inside of the garage too at this point, because it just came down. when
Well, it
such-
definitely needs to be fixed and
Yeah.
replaced. And I think, yeah, my condition on that would be like that, then it looks like you've got a civil or a stamped engineer drawing. So I mean, as
Yep.
long as it's been designed by a structural engineer and they're willing to sign off and put their stamp on it, then
Yeah, and it is stamped. Yep, we are. Make sure that all of our ducks are in a row for sure with this project. We don't want anything to fail again. I promise you that.
from
So it failed last winter?
It failed in January.
Oh, I see. I see.
from an architectural standpoint, I mean, I think it looks good. Daniel, is there anything like, is this road or is this parking area part of Sudden Valley right away, or is it private drive? Is there anything that Sudden Valley right away needs to weigh in on this?
I would think that they would be part of this approval. Either way, it needs to be done. So as far as our committee is concerned, I mean, I think it looks good. I see the drawings here. I can't imagine why maintenance or anyone else from SPCA would deny this. I mean, their house is being crushed.
Yeah,
So-
so I just asking the question. So
If that parking pad is not done to Sudden Valley specs, this would be the time to make it. So. Just a suggestion.
So yeah, I assume Mike from maintenance gonna review this too at some point? Is that part of this process?
If you guys ask him to, yes.
Yeah, I think we should. I'm not sure what Sudden Valley had what involvement they had in the original construction, but yeah, I think Mike should look at this too.
I thought Mike, did he come by at some point, Diane, or?
I can't remember, Robin. I think maybe he did. I don't
Yeah.
know, but he probably should just eyeball it again and make sure.
Yeah, Robin, I think as far as we're concerned, our committee, I think it looks good. I think we think it's necessary. I just want to make sure it works for you. And that, Mike looks at it and the county approves it.
Yeah. Awesome. That sounds.
Robin, may I ask a quick question? Is there a replacement plan? So for instance, when you take down the railroad ties,
Mhm.
you have to take them all out in order to rebuild the wall. I think my concern is what happens when you take the wall down and all this dirt is now free to do whatever it's going to do. So I guess my question is to ensure, personal and property safety.
Yeah.
Is there a replacement plan?
Yeah, we're working on it with the contractor. So they have I'm not exactly sure what they have planned, but I know they've talked about that to ensure that the dirt and all the fill doesn't come crashing down. They'll have to, I think, do some sort of temporary barrier or something. So it's definitely something that's in the works as well.
Yeah, that's another reason why I want Mike to look at this and make sure that he's aware that it's happening at the very least. And,
But it
be aware
wouldn't,
of what the engineering people have to say.
Yeah. I just so you know, so all of this is still, we had a survey done and it's all on our property. So it's not on Sudden Valley property at all. It's all within our surveyed property. So it should be fine, I believe, in terms of.
As long
I
as it's
don't-
not holding up some of Sudden Valley property real estate, it might crash down into your place.
Yeah, so
It appears that there would need to be some excavation, given that the hill has now shifted and it's up against your garage. But I assume that someone's going to do due diligence and
Yeah.
figure out all those things.
yep. Yep, we've been working with a geologist as well. We've had a survey done all sorts of things.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So just to clarify, if the committee, they give me an approval for this, then do I need to wait on Mike to do something separate, or is that part of this process?
I think we're gonna request that you speak to Mike too about this.
Okay.
That'll be part of the approval. I mean,
Okay, but
that's,
because we really are like feeling pressure on this project because we need to get
literally.
this
It'll
done,
be
so-
fast, Robin.
Okay,
it'll
so
be
I don't need to
really fast.
resubmit again and.
No,
kind of-
no, 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 no.
Oh,
It'll
okay,
be real
okay,
fast.
okay. That's just what I was like, whew,
Yeah, don't
We're-
worry.
we're chomping at the bit to get this done, so
I
especially
bet.
for the weather.
So I
turn.
think what we're looking at, if I may summarize, is a conditional approval of item 6 pending Mike's review and county approval. Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
Yes.
Sounded good to me. Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
All in favor of Alan's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, fix that wall.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Trying to find my screen again. Joel's taken over my computer.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Was there something I could do, or is that just, have you taken over completely there?
I think any of the panelists can do screen sharing.
You need two computers.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Dan, do we have any other homeowners here?
Yeah. Let's see. I know item 28. Item 7. I don't know if he wants to speak. Oh,
Let's go to 28.
can I figure out there's another person here? Hold on.
Okay, sure.
Hi, Dustin. Go ahead and unmute. Let us know what address you're here for.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, my headphones are doing something crazy here. Sorry.
What address are you here for?
I'm here for 4 Fairway Lane.
Got it. Okay, go ahead and mute, and we'll get to you in just a few minutes. Thank you. Go ahead and mute, I mean. All right. So there's another one there.
Sorry, what was his name? I missed that.
Dustin. He's doing 3, 4, and 5.
All right, so we'll do item 28 now. Tim?
Yes, I'm here.
Seal skin and shade grown.
What item is this, Daniel?
Item 28.
If no one has any questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 28.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, good luck with your black house.
It's one of your colors.
It looks good. It looks good. There's a lot of dark houses coming up now. Our
All right, thank
previous
you.
ACC guy wouldn't have liked it, but I'm good with it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, how about Dustin? Item 3.
3, 4, and 5. You doing the fence?
Yeah. Dustin, could you talk us through this project a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a rock retaining wall that is failing. Our the rocks are starting to slide away. It's making our yard kind of slough away. We've got a pretty big indent where there didn't used to be an indent
So is
in the
that
yard.
in the photo that I'm looking at, is that your yard on the right side or on the left?
Are you looking at the aerial? I'm not sure.
No, I'm looking at the I see the wall and it looks like a driveway below, and above there's a house with the number 12 on it.
Yeah, so the yard is above, and the
Okay.
retaining that rock wall is what we're trying to replace
okay.
with the interlocking bricks. Yeah, and so we do have an easement from where the photo was taken that allows access to the golf course, and so we're just trying to get the retaining wall fixed and our yard fixed so our kids can be safe out there. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've already had to start restacking rocks because I mean in the last year it's really started collapsing, and our fear is like people walking by and maybe it collapses and reduces
Avalanche.
access, or I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, and these retaining walls are only really good for what 15-20 years, and the house was built in 92 or 91, so it's over 30 years old.
Depends how they're stacked.
Yeah, and this one doesn't look like it was fully done to code.
So your what are the property line issues here?
There shouldn't be any.
Okay. Setbacks are okay.
Yeah.
So we're actually doing number 5, correct? We're talking about the retaining wall.
Yeah,
Yes.
the retaining wall and the fence are kind of one and the same. We're gonna, once the retaining wall is done, we're gonna put the split rail cedar fence along the top of it so that my kids won't fall over the edge.
Okay.
And the highest point of the wall is at the house, and it's 7 feet. So we're gonna have 2 tiers, 1 4-foot tier and 1 3-foot tier.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this wall? So we're looking at item 5 first, I think. So we'll look at 5. Could I get a motion for item 5?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve item 5 as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So in addition to that, we'll look at item 3 for the split rail fence along the retaining wall. So this will be directly above the retaining wall.
Yeah, we're gonna do like a foot barrier from the top of the brick and we're gonna put rock, and then the posts and the retaining wall, or the post and the fence, sorry. But it'll go, there's an old dead stump that we're gonna put a post right in front of, and then the other post will be not quite attached to the house, but it'll be pretty close. Just straight line.
So yeah, that photo again that I'm looking at, I'm trying to, so the right of way to the easement to the golf course is the one that's below the fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The bottom of the rockery is the easement.
Okay.
The fence is gonna go on top.
What's the height of the fence? I don't see where that's listed.
Oh, I was just gonna go with whatever the ACC document showed. I think it was like 36, not to exceed 36 or something like that. Am I wrong?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was the question?
My
question was on the height of the fence. And you just said 36 inches.
whatever the 1 second, my son is losing his mind. Whatever the standard split rail fence is.
Yeah, I don't know actually what the height of the split rail fence limit is,
It's
but it
appendix
looks like
C.
you're doing 2 tiers with the wall, right?
But
And then beyond that, you would have the split rail fence
on top of the highest, like up on the yard.
and you're saying for protection so you don't fall over those rocks.
Yeah, so it's only going to be like
Or
3
your
or 4
son.
feet. Yeah, it's not going to be like a privacy fence or anything like that. It's just my son and my daughters, and if we have a couple drinks in the front yard, I don't want to fall off
Into the
the
golf
wall,
course.
Yeah.
People will be driving their golf carts around you. Any other comments, anyone? Can I get a motion for this, please?
So it's not to exceed 5 feet, is that how you're?
Yes, yes. Thank
And
you,
it won't
Diane.
even be close to 5 feet. So
I'll make a motion to approve item 3 as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. All right, now this gazebo. So you've got the hot tub installed already, correct?
yeah, we had to replace it, so we got a new one installed, same size, and we're just looking for the gazebo provides protection, and as well as it has the screen so we can have privacy from the 14th tee box and the neighbors.
I don't see any drawings to indicate whether, there's a, so the photos that I'm looking at, the photo aerial view,
Mhm.
where's the hot tub?
Oh, it's on the back left. Well, that photo, it's on the right underneath where it says 1 of 2 on the tax ID.
Oh,
thing.
okay. Yeah.
So it's over there.
This is definitely in the backyard.
It's on the back deck. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, our concern is that suddenly we would be seeing these as sort of parked in driveways for cars and things like that,
Oh,
which
yeah, no.
we definitely would not like.
Yeah. This is just a 10 by 10. It's just gonna barely skirt the outside of the hot tub. I think my hot tub's 7 feet by 7 feet.
Mhm.
Dustin, a question.
Alan?
Is the canopy fixed to the ground or is it movable? Will it be anchored or not?
Well, it weighs 300 pounds, so I wasn't gonna like anchor it through the deck
No. Okay.
on like pillars or anything.
Right.
But I was thinking about just doing a lag bolt onto the deck itself, or onto one of the support beams, just so it's secure. If a big wind, like we get like a 90-mile-an-hour wind, I don't know. That was my thought.
Yeah, I would think that would have to be lag bolted or secured in some
Yeah.
way. 300 pounds is a lot, but a gust could take it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I hadn't fully decided if I'm gonna lag bolt it into the support, or I saw you could sandwich a few boards. It all depends on where it all lines up. So, but it will be secured to the deck.
Thank you.
And may I ask what the color of the roof will be, please?
It's the exact in the photo.
Okay,
It's that exact color.
sort of a green.
It's like a black.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank you.
and then the sides they're wood colored, but they're metal.
thank you.
We do ask that there is some privacy screen around hot tub, so this would be your solution.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I do want to stress that these we would probably not approve something like this for a front yard or anything that had more visibility. It seems like it's pretty tucked away. back there, but I'm inclined to think this is appropriate for this space.
If there's no other further discussion, I'll move to approve item 4.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Okay. We're good.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item 7 is the other homeowner.
Okay, Tom. 27 Par Lane, item 7. You there, Tom? Tom there?
Never mind. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, hey, Tom.
How you doing?
Good. Did you say you were on the ACC?
I used to be, yeah. And on that note, I don't want to interfere with your guys' business,
No, please.
but I do have a heavy construction background, and that railroad tie retaining wall, that has failed. And that homeowner's in danger of not only losing their garage wall, but the roof as well. If it were me, I would give them immediate approval to lighten the load behind that.
I think we did.
Yep, you did.
What I heard is Mike needed to approve it.
No, he's just gonna go and look at it and make sure that the right of way isn't affected.
Yeah,
And it'll
if I was a
happen.
homeowner, I'd have already done it.
Yeah. I think he might have, Tom.
Oh, good.
I just need to just double check.
Yeah, that's a scary one.
Yeah, it is.
we
My
agree.
whole time on the committee, I didn't see anything like that.
We
Why
agree.
don't you join us again, Tom? We could use your
I'll
expertise.
consider it. My problem is I'm disabled and a lot of these walks I just can't do.
We'll accommodate you any way we can.
Okay, I'll consider it, John.
All right, so let's look at item 7.
Okay,
Looks
this
like you've
tree
got.
has completely failed.
How big is this tree?
I would say it's 15-inch diameter, which is why I applied. There's only one original branch left, and that's the one that points out towards the street. 3 have failed onto my neighbor's property. Luckily his car wasn't there when the 2 fell onto his driveway. The other failed and hit his garage and knocked some Christmas lights off the roof. Luckily, no further damage other than to the cypress trees. There were 2 pointed towards my driveway, and they were heavily laden 2 years ago with snow and ice. So I went out with an extension pole with a 12-inch board on it just to try to knock the snow and ice out of it, and they came down on top of me.
Wow.
So everything that's left there now, with the exception of the one branch I mentioned that points towards Par Lane, is nothing but suckers. I mean, this thing needs to go.
Well, we had one of our spies, Patrick, out there to look at it, and he.
Yeah, I know Patrick.
And he agreed that this tree is ready to go.
Is the tree on the property line or within your property, Tom?
No, it's on my property.
Thank you.
And even if it was on the property line, my neighbors are dying to see it go.
Is there any more discussion?
I have none.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve item 7.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I'm gonna call Alan the motion man today. He's keeping us moving.
He's all right.
Good job.
He's our navigator too, so I think he deserves a raise.
Hey, if I could ask a question, how many people are on the committee now?
What do we have?
6.
6?
Oh, yeah, that's right. 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I served under Keith.
Oh yeah, Keith is a good guy.
Yeah,
He's here.
Keith's a
He's here
great
with
guy.
us today. Well,
So I'll keep it in mind.
we'll look forward to your submission for that.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we'll approve you.
All right, Daniel.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Speaking of Keith, maybe we should go to item 8 and 9. Keith is here, and I think, is Jay here for that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back at these two again. Have you spoken to anybody about your stormwater situation
Yes,
recently?
I have. I was in last week for something else on a different project. I spoke with Joel about it.
Mhm.
I got a little bit of a little bit of an idea of what's going on. Essentially, my understanding is that the sewer it has been approved to go out the back and cross SVCA parkland and connect to that sewer main down below. That easement has been approved. The last time we spoke, there was discussion about stormwater, hopefully being able to go in that same trench. And yeah, the understanding was Keith thought it was a slam dunk, should be good to go. Joanne came back and said that it was denied. I requested some explanation on it. I didn't get any explanation on it, so I know that, and that's all I know. Joel's kind of in the same boat. I don't think there's a lot more explanation. I don't know. Keith's here. Maybe I don't know if he's able to enlighten what the situation is, but I guess the bottom line is, as far as stormwater goes, the good news is that if we need to pump up, we can. From an engineering perspective, it's already been approved to be able to pump up. The county is on board if we need to pump up. So we can. It's just not preferential for all the same reasons we discussed at length in the last meeting.
Yeah, and I think from my understanding, and maybe Keith can help us out here, that you will need to pump it up, and you will need to beef up those culverts so that it can take the flow of these extra properties.
Sure.
That's my understanding. And that would be under the supervision, of course, of Mike from maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Why, can I ask why it was not able to be approved for gravity flow? I mean, to tip my hand, I'm not gonna vote to approve this with a pump up. It's just too much liability. There's home immediately below that. If we have a problem, pump failure, power outage or whatever, we're just inviting a deluge of water down into those neighbors' backyards. So I'd like to understand why we can't use this. I mean, why the stormwater can't be gravity.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't part of that decision-making process, and I don't know exactly who made the final decision. Keith may be able to enlighten us on that process. Keith, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to be careful what I say because I am just a homeowner currently. But I have a question for you, Jay. Because of the steepness of this, there's no way to actually do a catch basin on that parcel for your stormwater, a retention basin or anything. But my question is, where you're going through that SVCA land, where you're going down to attach to the manhole down there where there's sewer, what is that area between those houses there? What is that deemed as? Like, it looks like an empty lot, but is that area, is it actually a reservoir down there for water retention? Do you know?
Keith, could you, I think Joel is driving the screen there.
Yeah, it's
Can you,
Joel. Yeah.
Is this the
Okay,
right
great.
spot? Is this what you're talking about? Here's the manhole.
Yeah, so in between the property there, so you're going, that's out in the street. So between the two houses where you're going with your how could that be the manhole?
So that's the manhole below where
That
Joel
the
is pointing.
manhole. Is that out in the street?
No,
That's not.
this is at the back corner of the lot below us, and
Okay.
in between is just a green belt.
Yeah, so before you actually go out into the street, what is that lot area there? Do you know what that's designated? Just out of curiosity, it looks lower than the street. It looks like it was designed to hold water, but I do not know. Actually, I haven't looked at it myself.
I believe that's just the utility easement on the property line of that homeowner's lot below.
Right, so that manhole, the way I'm looking at this, if this is Tin Valley View Circle, and this manhole is right there between these two lots, and that manhole is existing between, at the back corner here, between these two lots of these homes. Is that right?
So
Yep.
see that, so see the area on that corner, that whole corner greenbelt right there, like little triangular spot down there, Joel, right where you were at?
Yeah, when I zoom in, the lines all disappear.
Yeah, so
here's a green belt that's crossing. Here's 10.
all right, well, who owns that property on that corner right there?
These are homeowners.
No, the next on that, the empty lot, the empty space right there.
Oh, down here?
No, all the way to the right, all the way to the right. Right there. That is all that guy's parcel?
Yep.
It's one lot.
And are you going through his lot? No, then your manhole, where's that manhole? Where's that manhole at then that you're attaching to?
The manhole's right here. Looks like on the corner of. Can't really. I don't have a way to point here.
So it's like in the green belt.
According to the if this location is accurate, if this is lot 62 where that manhole's located, this is lot 60. Wait, hang on. This is lot 64. Yeah, this is lot 62, 63. So then it's going to be right, I guess, right at this corner.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't see a manhole down there. Interesting. I've been down there, but I wasn't looking for a manhole. Interesting. All right. So anyway, so the deal is with the stormwater, which is how we got onto this. I was just curious if that was, I was trying to think of a way that you could put your water down there and call that good, but that's obviously someone else's property and obviously not allowed. So yeah, the issue is the stormwater. Then in that case, you do have to pump it up because I don't see anywhere else it would go.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is, and I wanna just underscore that again for the members of the ACC here today. We're in a pickle. This to me is, I mean, you guys have probably recall this, or if you have kids of your own, mom says yes, dad says no. We're in a bit of a pickle. Because I know you guys don't want to pump. We don't want to pump either, but it is possible, it's feasible. But I just want to remind everybody, there's only two options here. We go down and cross that easement in the same trench, or we pump up. There is no other alternative.
So Jay, where were you going to attach your stormwater down below in the back? What were you going to attach to? Since the green belt doesn't really do any service for you, does it?
Well, no, we'd just be crossing the green belt and then just be using that easement there to go down and connect to the ditch at the street.
I'd like to understand why Sudden Valley was okay with the sewer line in that right away, but they were not okay with the stormwater. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I just want to understand what the difference is between the two and why they would approve one and not the other.
Yeah, so in the original plotted map for this particular area right here, it showed a sewer system line there, right? It was originally as part of the design. That was something we were going to allow.
Yeah,
So
we don't have to allow that, but we decided that we would allow that.
Yeah, and Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer approached us and asked if we would allow it because originally we weren't, that's not our idea, is to have somebody go across parkland or greenbelt or whatever. But Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer came to us and asked if we would, because obviously you don't want to have a grinder pump pumping, sewer uphill if you can avoid that at all costs. And Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer already showed it on their plotted map and asked us if we would comply. So, legal here was approached at that, and this will explain why we didn't want stormwater down there. So we wanted to comply with Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer's request of what they had asked from us, because we're trying to, have a partnership with them. And so we complied with that. And then legal came back and said we didn't want to do stormwater because it's setting up a precedence for, other builders. And our concern was the lots that we have left here are difficult to build on, and this is going to become, instead of a more increasing problem or a more frequent request. And so the idea from the attorney was deny that request. In that way you don't have a precedent set, we don't have to worry about that. That's the reason behind the denial. Other than that, like I agree. It's always silly to try to pump uphill. And so when Mike met out here, maintenance manager Mike Brock met me out here, and we discussed it. Coming up and across the street, the problem then was what happens because the ditches over there are not maintained at all, and then that onus would be put back on the developer to make that ditch sufficient enough to satisfy the increase in water. To be engineered, I guess more appropriately is the correct term, would be engineered to take that influx of water and then get it to the culvert that's up here.
Yeah, this is not I mean, I'm just looking at the plans, but based on the area of the catch basin, I mean, this is going to be a 30 foot plus lift over a 30 or 40 foot horizontal. I mean, that's a significant lift.
And 2 houses worth, that's 8 and 10. So we're just looking at one right now, but the other house is the same thing. We'd be pumping 2 houses up the hill into the existing ditch or trench.
Excuse me, guys, I just want to let you know this discussion is at 11 minutes. And thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
I mean, yeah, Daniel, I went through all these and it looks like the builder satisfied all the concerns that we had at the previous meeting and addressed the tree and the slopes and I mean, everything else that we looked for, the rake driveway, et cetera, but I just, from my standpoint, I don't feel good at all about trying to do a pumped stormwater system. I mean, I think our role as an ACC is to be on the lookout for the existing homeowners that are there. And I walked past this again yesterday, and it's a steep slope immediately uphill from a couple of houses just down below. And I would not want somebody with a pumped stormwater system sitting right above me with the kind of volume that you're going to get on stormwater in this area. So that's still a problem for me.
I think you articulated that concern very well, because it does affect the neighboring properties and any subsequent properties that go up there. Yeah, this wouldn't be an isolated parcel. It does affect a lot of other properties. So I think considering that, it is under our purview to consider that aspect of this. And I do share your concerns, Dan, with pumping all of that water. That is a steep hill. I mean, when I first drove through that across that street, down that street, I didn't think that would ever be built there. That's a steep slope, and all that water from that slope coming back uphill into those culverts. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand your concern as well. As Keith, discussed, if Mike wants to see, an improvement of those culverts to be able to handle that water, that's fine. We'd be willing to do that. That's just fine. Pump systems are common. They are not an exception, especially in Sudden Valley. We do it all the time. We engineer for it all the time. And it's going to get a lot more common with the SVCA's stance on this. I mean, Keith said it, you heard it straight from Keith. The major reason why legal came back is they didn't want to set the precedent for builders to be able to do this in the future. So that means we're going to see a lot more pump systems coming up. That's just unfortunately how it is.
We'll review those on a case-by-case basis, and
Exactly.
most pump systems are usually for horizontal displacement, some vertical displacement. I mean, this is entirely vertical displacement, and it's steep and it's over a short duration. I mean, we're not talking about lifting something 5 feet and putting it into a street. We're talking about going 30 feet straight back uphill.
Yep. Yeah.
Can we discuss the culvert if we're considering the option of pumping uphill, and it sounds like that's the only option? The current culvert is almost non-existent. So I think we had some ideas that are kicking around about how to improve that culvert and so forth. Anybody have comments?
John, by culvert, I just want to make sure, are you referring to the ditch?
Yes, the ditch on the on the opposite side of the road where the
Yeah.
stormwater would be pumped to. I'll call it a ditch, I guess, then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I mean, hypothetically, if it were to get pumped, which I'm not going to vote in favor of it if it's going to be pumped, but if it were to get pumped, now you're talking about taking the entire drainage of those two lots and putting it into that culvert, and that culvert, the capacity of that culvert as it runs parallel to the road. But then what's the state of that? What's the state of that ditch and the downstream culverts? Because there's a steep right where Keith's house is there. I rode my bike up that yesterday, so I know how steep it is. There's a really steep hill right there. And now you're going to be putting 2 lots worth of water into that ditch and dumping it down there. What happens to that? Have we had anything, have we had maintenance or any engineering on that? I mean, again,
Yes.
I'm not okay. I'm not okay with that that water being pumped up, but if it is going to get pumped up there, if I don't prevail on my position, then I want to make sure that if it is going to end up there, that it's got a place to go, a safe place to go once it does get up there. Because now you're taking the carrying capacity of that ditch, which was designed for the upslope above Valley View. Now you're going to be taking the downslope for at least 2 lots and putting it in there as well.
I have in an effort to kind of head off issues as before they arise. I know Mike Rock maintenance has gone out there, maybe a couple times and looked at the ditch. And I brought it to his attention too. And I think there may need to be some improvements made to the ditch in terms of reestablishing the slope. The drainage system master plan does show that this Valley View Circle is intended to drain to the southwest. So here's the map. Here's what it looks like. Zoom in here. So we're talking about, let me grab a clip here and then I can draw on it a little bit better. So I think lots 54, is it 55? Are the Valley View lots? 8 is 55, 10 is 54. So here's our 2 lots here on 8 and 10. These arrows on the master plan show the direction of flow.
That is incorrect.
Each ditch.
Yeah, Joel, is there any way you can zoom in on it a little more?
Joel, it doesn't drain.
Yeah. This is so this is what is I know it doesn't look like that. It looks like on site it looks like it's heading in the opposite direction. These are what the arrows are showing on this drainage sheet master plan. It shows the runoff, the direction, and the cubic feet per second. So this makes it look like it flows to the southwest. And then this indicates there's a culvert, or it may be a half pipe culvert running between 2 lots. I think both of those lots are Sudden Valley owned.
And you know what? I'm going to say,
yeah,
Joel, that culvert that you just highlighted, that is there. I've been down that. That street, it's weird. There's a street right there that's actually Lake Louise Drive. There's like 2 houses up there
like
that are off a dirt road where it's a dirt road. It's not even paved, but there's like 2 houses up there. It's like 16 Lake Louise Drive or something is one of the houses. And the culvert's kind of washed out right below there. They've dumped a bunch of gravel in there already trying to fill. I don't know how that person gets to their house, but that's already not a good scenario with that culvert. But where he's building anyways, those 2 lots, it flows the actual opposite direction. I mean, I'm sitting there at my desk, where I'm at, and I'm looking out it flows downhill the other way.
What I've seen too, and what I've observed on site, and I think what Mike has observed on site too, is that it does look like it is sloped to the northeast.
Yeah, about where that culvert is, or maybe a little bit before that, I would say it levels out a little bit and then it starts flowing down the other way. But from up up just past his lot, maybe a couple lots, it flows the other direction downhill. And we did look at that too, and that was one of the concerns we had, because he's gonna be grabbing his water, the water mains over on that side.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be grabbing his water from there, and then, Mike was talking about fabric and riprap to take him back to the culvert, the existing culvert that's there now for that utilities easement road, to take it back down there to try to get the water, down the hill.
So,
Yeah, this is what the
so
master sheets, sorry, this is what the master sheets show. But there may need to be some improvements to that ditch. I'm not sure what they are yet, but it may be, Mike Brock is aware of it, and I'm sure he'll weigh in.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you mentioned, Joel, too, is the grade. So Jay, too, that was something you'll look at, I'm sure, more in depth than either of us could. But the grade out there, you're right, Joel. So that was an issue right there where he's doing the construction. People pulled in there to do their staking and whatnot. It's like sunk down considerably there now. It's a little ponding area. And then we haven't surveyed, of course, just eye survey, but that area looks higher than the culvert, or very close already. So it's going to be a struggle to make sure you can get the water to flow out of here properly. And again, it hasn't been surveyed, Jay, just eyeballing it. It looks like it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I know, I do agree. And I think, as far as whatever improvements need to be done to the ditch to be able to support the flow of these two houses, getting them going in a place where it's going to drain properly, that can be done. That's not insurmountable at all. I do understand your issues. You guys don't want to pump. I don't want to pump either. But again, my position is we can. The counties approve it. I'm here to ask you guys to approve it, because essentially Mom said no. I can't. I have no other alternative. And I've got 2 homes that we've put a lot of design work into and have, given you guys everything you want on every part of it. And the only limitation here has been imposed by the SVCA. And Dan, I appreciate, your persistence in asking for an answer why. This is about the most answer I've got. And Keith, I appreciate your explanation, but in terms of, I mean, I guess I don't agree. I think it's plain to everybody here that being able to cross that easement in a trench that's already going in is the no-brainer of the year. And I would really hate, there's no alternative. I don't know, guys.
Jay, may I
well,
ask?
Go ahead, John.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Jay, when you say improvements to the culvert can be made, are you suggesting that your construction company would make those improvements?
We can, in terms of, what's directly across our lots. As you can see, one of the things that came up here is that, we're going to need temporary parking in that area. Anyways, across from both of our lots, which realistically, I mean, and that's a substantial section of this roadway. So what we'd be doing there anyways would already be an improvement on what's existing. It's a ditch right now. It slopes to be able to get even any reasonable sized vehicle off the side of the road to be able to pull in there. We're gonna have to do some work. We're gonna have to kind of dredge it out a little bit, put a culvert in, put gravel over it, and then of course at that time we would make sure it's sloping properly so it doesn't just fill up and sit in the culvert. So these ditch improvements are already part of our scope, just to be able to provide temporary parking.
So tell us a little bit more about the temporary parking. I see it in the drawing, but what's the size of that space and what does it consist of?
Right. So that, it is over 40 feet across there, which means we would be required to put a catch basin in, which we're fine with that. There's standards for this that you guys have in your, I forget what it is. It's in your book of standards for what's required if you were going to do any type of temporary parking or parking in the right of way where there's a culvert that's longer than 40 feet. We'd have to put a catch basin in. That's all part of what we're doing there. But what I'm saying is we would already be embarking on the process of improving that ditch across the street with the intent of knowing that if we are going to have to pump up and into it, that's all part of the equation. It have to slope properly back down to what I understand is the northeast, I guess, downhill back towards across the street from Keith's place. I mean, we're already, more than 50% there just by doing these improvements for our proposed temporary parking. Does that make sense?
And how wide is that parking? You said it's 40 feet. This is the proposed parking space.
I
temporary
think
parking space.
long, when I say 40 feet, it's the width of our lot from left to right as you see it in what Joel has put up in the screen. That's definitely over 40 feet long in terms of a culvert. For width, it's just we'd only be taking it as wide as necessary to get a vehicle in there and get it pulled off the road properly, so we're over where a fog line would go,
There's
So,
that's
go
a
ahead.
very narrow road already, so I don't that parking area can't be very wide. It's not, you're gonna have construction trucks partially parked on the main road, but that's not that road doesn't get used a lot and it's only one way.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, well, I think the fact that it's a one-way street actually is in favor of being able to it supports being able to, take what is already a skinny road and at least be able to get enough, get vehicles off enough to safely to traverse with traffic.
So this temporary parking would be typical on each lot?
Yep. It's gonna be, that's our request. Ultimately, you can see as we've redesigned it, we've got parking in the right of way directly in front of the house, in front of the pedestrian bridges requested as well. So that's also just gonna be an improvement to the street.
There's an element too of this, guys, where I don't feel comfortable with why did Sudden Valley say no? I mean, why they said no to the stormwater approach, and I don't feel comfortable saying, well, we'll go an alternate route. Then I'd like to understand a little more why they said no.
My understanding is that it doesn't want to be, they don't want to set a precedent to use the green space as, a route for
Hey
stormwater.
guys, Joanne Jensen joined the meeting and I think she can help you guys.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
VIP time.
Joanne?
Yeah, sorry, but clarity is a good thing. So SBCA has been advised by our legal counsel that granting easements, public utility easements across commonly owned space such as green space or park space is not required by the plat, and it is not a great precedent. We question that because there are documents recorded with the county that show sewer connections crossing green space owned by Sudden Valley. And so to preserve the integrity of those documents to support Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer, we made a decision, the board made a decision, I had nothing to do with it other than organizing it, but the board made a decision to say that we would allow easements across our commonly owned property as long as they existed in a recorded document with the county. So the sewer easement was granted. We do not want to allow other easements across the green space. There are good reasons for that, and consistency is very important. So my understanding regarding these specific building sites is that there is a ditch to which the stormwater can be pumped up. Our maintenance and facilities manager has added to his work list to restore that ditch so that it is at an appropriate slope and depth to accommodate the additional stormwater. So that was the proposed solution for the properties that you guys are talking about right now.
That's excellent news. So if I understand that correctly, Mike Brock from SVCA Maintenance has been tasked with grading and improving that ditch to be able to support the additional stormwater that's going into it. Sovereign Homes, the builders here, myself, representative, we are proposing to work with SVCA to do whatever we need to do to help support that as well. That's great.
My understanding from the last conversation that I had with maintenance regarding this building site, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and again, that's not 10% of my concern is the size of that ditch. That's easily remediated. My biggest concern is the fact that you're pumping this significant amount of water up a very steep slope, and what happens when that doesn't work. So, I mean, fixing the ditch is a small piece of this problem to me. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't like it either, Dan, but I would have to say from practicalities perspective, we're not just taking all this water and pumping it. You have to remember that part of the process, because we are in the Lake Whatcom watershed, all this water goes through, and this is individually on each lot, all the water that's collected from, roofs, gutters, all the sheet flow off the driveways, it all gets collected into a filtration trench. And that trench has significant capacity that would serve as sort of it's by no means a retention vault or anything, but it does have significant enough capacity to be able to handle stormwater, to be able for it to not overflow and go just directly spilling downhill into the neighbors' units.
no, that's not true. I have one of those lots. I have a new home on a very steep lot, and it has a retention basin, and that retention basin has a safety valve in there.
Yep.
And I've had it twice now where the top is blown off of that and it's washed out down below. It didn't do any damage because it just goes straight down to the street. But those retention basins have their own limitations and their safety valve in there for that purpose.
Absolutely.
So that's my concern is not when we get a half an inch of rain over one day. It's my concern is that when we get 3 inches of rain over 2 hours and it happens day after day after day, then at some point that pump can't keep up, the retention basin is full, and that water's got to go somewhere. And if the pump fails, it's only exacerbated. So
I'm talking about in the terms of pump failure.
tell you not to build these houses. I'm just telling you if you're going to build these houses, they need to be done in such a way that they protect the people down slope. I mean, I can't look those landowners in the eye and say, well, we approved a house that had this pump system in there to lift a significant amount of water over a short distance. It failed, and now you ended up with it coming through your patio door. So,
yep, I totally agree. And
one of the things I'd like to bring out here is that the stormwater plan for Sudden Valley exists, and it is the responsibility of our maintenance and facilities manager to ensure plans that are here meet that. There are requirements, basic requirements in the ACC guidelines around stormwater. Ultimately, engineering decisions can't be made by the ACC. So I think that if you could comment on the other elements of this, and perhaps we can convene another discussion, because I recognize, Dan, that your concerns are absolutely legitimate. We do not want to make another property vulnerable to damage, but other people need to be involved in the conversation that are not present here today. So in order to give this builder a path forward, perhaps you could focus on the other items and agree to discuss this with a larger group of people.
Yeah, if you're suggesting, Joanne, conditional approval for everything other than the engineering, which my understanding is you're saying isn't necessarily the purview of the ACC, the concern was legitimate, but the purview concerning engineering requires a larger discussion. If what you're suggesting, and maybe I'm hearing this, I hope I'm hearing this correctly, is that you're recommending conditional approval with a further discussion down the line regarding this pump system. Is that correct?
Jay, I'm not recommending that. I'm pointing out that it's an option. If the committee would like to take up that option, they are welcome to do so. I do recognize that there are stormwater management guidelines within the ACC that is within their purview to ensure that plans meet those guidelines. But in a situation like this where the SPCA has, the overall association has some concerns in the matter as well. It seems like this would be a good time to expand the conversation and to acknowledge that the concerns being raised by members of the committee are legitimate. It's just that you don't have all the players right now.
Sure.
I think Joanne, that's good insight. Again, I think we should do just that. I don't want to let the toothpaste out of the tube and say, let's go forward, let's approve this. And then have a conversation about a significant piece of it. So if there's a conversation that needs to be had with others about the stormwater issue, then we should convene that as quickly as possible to try to get this resolved one way or the other.
Okay, so Daniel, what do you want to do?
I'm considering that we should probably deny as submitted until the further discussion takes place.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I have a little more discussion. Just one quick
Go ahead,
thing.
John. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Sorry, Dan. Jay, the retaining wall has you created a new plan, the C1 site plan. The retaining wall is
Yep.
no longer going to be in the right of way. Is that correct?
Yep, that was your request. Yes.
Great. I just wanted to double check that. I think from this drawing here, I can see it's right on the property line by that parking area.
Yep.
And then it slopes back around on the right side of the driveway, and then on the left side of the driveway, the same thing.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yes, you got it.
Good clarification. We don't want people building in the right of way. Thank you.
You got it.
I'm ready. I'm all done with my comments.
So there's a motion on the table. All in favor of denying this as submitted until further conversations take place regarding engineering and other things that we discussed today. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
That was item 8.
That was item 8. Item 9. I would make the same motion for item 9. All in
Agreed.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Yeah,
Thank you guys. I
we
appreciate it.
realize
My
this
only
is a-
request is if we could fast track that discussion, we're ready to go. Whatever players need to be convened. Axe Engineering did the stormwater design on this, and we're ready to go anytime you are.
Yeah, I'm afraid that with a lot of these difficult lots that are coming up, these conversations are going to get more and more difficult and may take a little bit longer. And I appreciate all the expertise that was presented in this item. We had Joanne, Dan obviously has some expertise here, Keith, Jay. I appreciate everybody having this discussion. I think it just needs to go a little bit further before we feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, can I say something real quick before Jay
Yes,
leaves?
Keith. Yeah, Keith.
Thank you. I'll put my hand down now. Hey, Jay, one thing I would suggest too, like you can't just have your stormwater. I'm curious where you would tie into. Like that green belt, how does that help you in any way to take stormwater down there? Like say you use that trench, right? The
Yep.
easement that you have for your sewer system. How does that help you with the stormwater? That's something to be thinking about. Where can you connect? Because right now you're saying you would connect, but where? Is there
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah,
that-
I gotcha. It's pretty simple. It's downhill. We follow that trench. We follow the trench all the way down to the ditch, rip wrap, tie into the ditch at the bottom of that homeowner's house there. That's it. It's pretty easy.
Easy for you, mister.
Yeah, that's what we do.
All right, man. Thank you guys. I appreciate the time for me to speak. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Jay, you're here for another one too, right?
Yeah, I believe I have 2 items on 21 Lost Fork.
Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break if everyone's okay with that, and we'll get back
Sure.
to Jay. We good?
Yes.
Okay, see you in a little bit.
Thanks.
Everybody back?
Yes, sir.
Alan, Dan, you guys back?
Yep, just coming back on.
Okay. Don't see John yet. Diane, you're there, right?
Hey, Daniel, I got a question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. You're talking to Dan. My bad.
Yeah, Dan.
This email that we got from this Terry Hall, is that something we're gonna take up today, or did we take that kind of stuff up? I wasn't sure how to process.
No,
No, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay. I wasn't sure how we process that, so that's all
Yeah,
I need.
actually, Joanne responded to him.
I have people, a person who came, hold on. The person with iPhone 360-220-1310, could you please tell us who you are and what you're here for? Which address? iPhone 360-220-1310. They may still be breaking.
Hello.
Hi, who is this?
Yeah, this is Vladimir Chinamoris. I'm here for 101 Polo Park.
Thank you.
So what number on the agenda I have for this?
21.
21?
Yeah.
Okay.
21 and
Thank
22.
you. Thank you.
Are we back in action?
Yeah, there's John. All right, so we were talking to Jay before the break, so let's continue on with that.
And we're doing 26 and 27.
That is, yes, 26 and 27.
The last item went 40 minutes, so I will be a little more vocal as we're going.
Yeah, we anticipated that for that one. Okay. Joel, do you have some drawings for us to look at for this one? There's some, this is one where I think there was an original approval of a design. Well, let's look at the tree first, I guess. Yeah, some of us went and looked at this tree, and obviously this tree needs to come down. I think what happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, that because of the rerouting of the stormwater, there was some damage done to this tree. Originally, the stormwater was going to go under the house. Is that right?
Sewer, Daniel.
Sewer water? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was not.
That's correct.
This was not on the original approval, correct? Or removal?
I can't speak to that. I was not part of this project at that time.
Okay.
I came into this project at about halfway through the build in early 2023. So, but yeah, that is the lore of the project. Is the homeowner above their sewer line was running directly through where our building footprint was. It wasn't on any of the plat maps, was not supposed to be there, and had to be rerouted. So damage, the tree took damage in the course of that. We're definitely good for the tree to go. We just want to make sure we're going through the proper channels, which I believe we've done. We have an arborist report that we've furnished for you guys. Arborist definitely is good for this tree to get removed. We've got written permission from the owner of the adjacent lot to be able to access through that lot to be able to safely remove it. And I have a quote and a solid plan with Timber Tree Service, who is a certified tree service to be able to do this safely. And that's our highest priority. So just seeking approval from you guys, because we take tree removal very seriously. We know the ACC does as well. So just want to make sure we're going through the proper channels.
You say you have a plan for that. Just to educate us a little bit, what does that plan look like?
Yep.
Because I'd like to see more of that in our approvals for tree removals. And it sounds like you've done your due diligence. And I'd like you to educate us on your process.
Yep, I met Taylor, who is the owner of Timber Tree Service. And to summarize, essentially what it looks like is what they do is they limb the tree from the bottom to the top, and they tie off zip lines down, and they zip line smaller limbs down to get it out safely with minimal impact all along the way. Then what they do is when the tree is limbed from bottom to top, they start cutting the trunk down in sections, and that gets zip lined up the hill because it's easier to control. So yeah, Taylor's very experienced with this. Yeah, he'd be a great consultant for you guys if you're interested, if you run into these situations in Sudden Valley. I found him to be very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think this tree was on the original plans designated for removal and approved for it. Has a big R on it if this is the right tree in the back of the house.
Yep. It is.
So I think maybe this approval may be redundant, but
well, it seems pretty obvious at this point, the state of that tree, it's got to come down.
Yeah. Here's a question. Are you guys comfortable with us leaving the stump? I think that would be the best way to do it, just to make sure that the slope maintains maximum stability. Are you guys okay with that?
I think if the arborist thinks that's safe, I mean, I like to leave a habitat snag if possible, and it does, keep the roots in there a little bit longer.
That's what I was thinking, Daniel. Same thing. Aesthetically, it might not be pleasing, but it'll help maintain the stability of that slope if we leave the stump.
Cool.
Yeah, because that's a significant slope there. Is that from the drawing or the photo I'm looking at? Is that already has a retaining wall there?
Yeah, there's a partial retaining wall on that corner of the house there. Yes, that's correct.
So what else is going to happen there? That looks, from this angle, I mean, it may be different in actuality. I didn't go to that side of the house, but that looks like a sheer cliff.
You go to the next page, Joel. There's a better photograph right there.
Yep.
On the right. So there's the retaining wall.
Yeah.
And location to the house.
Yep. Yeah, so it is retained, extending past the house by about 4 or 5. It's like maybe 4 feet. It goes past us. That slope is retained.
Okay. Well, let's any other questions about the tree?
You have my hand up if anyone sees.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question. So on Joel's original plan, he showed that tree with an R on it was supposed to be removed. Can I ask why it was not removed?
Yeah, the tree guy missed it.
Honest.
What?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's there. It says removed. Maybe it could be. And again, I apologize. I hate to lean on this, but I wasn't there for this. I came into this, I acquired this property in Sovereign Homes about halfway through the build. My guess is that it was marked for removal on everywhere, but maybe it didn't get flagged. Because you can give a tree guy like a map with which trees to be removed, but the only thing they're gonna look at is which trees are flagged on site. So
Hey,
that's
Jay,
my guess.
who's the tree guy? Is there a name there?
Timber Tree Service.
Okay.
Yep, Taylor. So my guess is, either the tree didn't get flagged, or maybe it got flagged and the flag came down, came off or something. I don't know. That's my best guess. But all I know is, there's an R that's clearly visible here. The tree's still there today. So yeah, you could say it's redundant or maybe even a retroactive approval. But this is me just making sure I'm going through the proper channels, because I'm not about to remove a tree that's this big with this much it's a big deal to get this tree out of there, and I want you guys to know that we're doing it safely, because we take it seriously. I know you guys do too, so that's why I'm here today.
I'll make a motion to approve this request with the understanding that they'll leave the stump, to leave the stump in place afterwards.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, we're good with that part. Okay, so this is a little more complicated. Item 27. Yeah, it's kind of a vague request, and
Yeah.
I just want to kind of clarify what we are approving or not approving here.
Sure.
You've got the go ahead, Jay.
I can just kind of try to summarize it for you. The broad discussion is I'm here to talk about this, to kill two birds with one stone. There was some question initially about whether sudden the ACC had ever received plans that show that we are in that the conditions have been met for what you guys typically need, lot coverage, etc. So I've got a part of my submittal package is two things. It's that what you're looking at there, that's the site plan showing everything as it currently is today, wanting to know, making sure that it meets approvals. And then the second portion of it, so that's first of all, is like, is this good? Does this work for you guys? And I think we'll be leaning on Joel primarily for that. And then the second part of the discussion is this retaining wall and back. And maybe that's the best place to start. Dan, you and sorry, I forgot the other gentleman's name. I met you guys out there on Tuesday for the property tour. We took a look at it.
You met John.
Yes, John. Thank you. Where we're at on this is that our original plans do show a retaining wall. We're pretty confident that we can build that wall not exceeding 4 feet, which wouldn't require engineering. And we've kicked around some ideas of maybe getting creative and trying a new product called Slope Grid. But I think where we've landed at, and this is even since I met you guys out there, I came into this meeting, when I sent in my documents, thinking about asking you if it's necessary to do a retaining wall. My position has kind of changed, that I think we're just going to do it because it is on our plans. And after really looking at this and walking it again, it's probably just the smartest thing to do is put that retaining wall in. And as you know, a block wall that's under 4 feet doesn't need to be engineered. If it does exceed 4 feet, it's very easy for us to provide engineering for it. And again, it's essentially would fulfill our obligations to build it according to the as-built plans we've submitted. So I guess yeah.
Joel, can you show the I think I'm looking at the cross section that has the retaining wall in there. Can you show the original plans that were approved with the retaining wall and what retaining wall was approved? So sounds like they want to, or they're moving off of their proposal to scrap the retaining wall and want to just build a retaining wall, but perhaps a different one than what was in the plan. So where are we looking at it? And the other question I had is, didn't we just look at a retaining wall on this lot where that tree was at?
Yes.
There's a
Yep.
partial.
There is a partial.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like there's a 6-foot wall proposed originally.
Yeah, it's changed. It's changed a couple times over the course of building it. This house has a long history of like changing. But as where we're sitting at today, we're confident we can get that wall to sit right at or under 4 feet tall is where we're at.
And that's a block wall you're talking about.
Yep, Allen block is typically what we do.
Having seen the site with you and Daniel on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
it appears to me that a retaining wall is necessary, and I think if you're suggesting a sort of slightly downscaled from 6 feet to 4 feet instead of a concrete wall doing the block wall,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good start.
Would that run the full length of the original design too?
Yeah, and by full length, I mean we would tie into the existing sort of partial retaining wall in the corner, and
So
then
that would
carry
still
it.
just be concrete, and then the
Yeah.
rest of it would be Allen.
Yep, we'd find an aesthetic way to tie into it. Thankfully, it's at the back of the house, so we're not going to see it from the road or anything. But the big concern is we do have some, as you can see, there are some pretty good sized windows that look directly out onto it. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of.
Could you describe that aesthetic connection there? Because it is kind of an ugly retaining wall at this point. That little piece that's out there, it's kind of ugly. So I'm curious how you're going to make that all come together.
Well, what we typically do in situations like that, where we have a concrete retaining wall, we usually finish it with the same like pine boards we have in the front of the house. That's an option. Alternatively, what we do a lot of times, we do epoxy paint, matching the same color of the siding, to make it aesthetic, and just and if we need to, we can find a creative way to put landscaping in the gap, to make it look good.
And
again,
is your hand up? I'm sorry, Keith just put his hand down. Okay.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think that would be something that we would want to put as a requirement for this if we do approve it, because that is kind of an ugly space right there, and especially with that tree trunk being there. If you could come up with some kind of I think the pine, is that what you're using, pine planks?
Yeah, we have done that in the past. We've also done, color match epoxy paint, same color as the house body. That works as well. And the good news is, I mean, as you know, this connection where we'd be making, be transitioning from the existing concrete retaining wall to the Allen block, it's not even visible from the road. The only place you actually see it is when you're standing in that room back there from inside the house.
Yeah, I still don't want to overlook it though, but so
sure.
if you could propose, I think if you proposed an idea and we accepted that, now we'd probably be good with that, because it is kind of ugly, and I wouldn't want to just leave it as it is.
Sure.
Daniel, I think the aesthetics are important, and that's a good catch. My take again is going to be the same comment I had on our notes, was if there's already an engineered retaining wall in there, if we're going to downgrade that to something, and I don't have a problem with that, it sounds like it's a good approach. We just need to make sure that that's been engineered and we've got engineering approval on that. I mean, these are stamped, the plans we're looking at here are stamped plans that show a retaining wall with footings, anchored footings. So if we're going to do something other than that, I think we just need to Jay, we're just going to need, for me anyway, I would just need to see something from an engineering that shows an as-built or a proposed build with that modified wall, and that from an engineering and slope stability standpoint, that still works.
Yep, that's not a problem. We've spoke to our engineer, and his position is that he thinks doing a 4-foot wall, which doesn't, and I mean, I'm sure you guys know this as well, but anything at 4 feet or below doesn't require engineering. He feels good about that, and where we left it with him is, hey, if you look like you're gonna get above 4 feet, call me and I will supply you with the letter for that engineering on a block wall that's higher than 4 feet. So yeah, that's where we're at. We've got that locked and loaded for you.
Wouldn't that be a construction change request? And also Keith McLean has his hand up.
Yeah, that's the point, I think, Diane, before we get to Keith a second, that's the point that I was making I think the engineer is right. It probably doesn't need to be more than 4 feet. It doesn't need to be engineered, but somebody needs to put their stamp on this construction change. So.
I think in light of this discussion, we would need a new construction change request that's clear and concise and contains the engineer's report. So I'm leaning for denying this request and then just waiting for Jay to produce something that's along the lines of what we've just discussed.
Yeah, would you guys consider conditional approval?
Well, actually, let's talk to Keith first for a second. Keith, are you
Sure.
still there?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so two things I had is one, who caught the fact that the retaining wall wasn't there? Joel, did you catch that?
Yes.
Okay, good job. Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks.
that. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we are looking out for these things, and that's fantastic. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that, Jay, your retaining wall could be 3 feet, it could be even 2 feet, depending on how close you pull it to the house, right? Because you're going downward on that slope. So
Yep.
make sure, you're saying going down from 6, which was originally engineered, down to 4, and I know things change during construction and things, but make sure you have that same distance from the house. Don't be bringing that, shrinking it up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Okay, cool. And that was all I had. And then the only other comment I had is back on 8 and 10 was we forgot to mention to you a staging area for your materials and equipment for 8 and 10 Valley View. So keep that in mind on your site plan when you're talking about your off-site parking, also where you're thinking of staging materials and equipment.
Okay, great. So yeah, we can discuss that in the future. Diane, is that something you can put on the notes for 8 and 10?
You would need to remind me. I can't keep track of that. I don't think.
I'll write myself a sticky note.
Joel,
Okay.
maybe you can help too, Joel.
I just wrote it down.
Thank you.
Awesome.
As far as conditional approval, I'm generally okay with conditional approval on things like lights and paint and deck boards or something like that. But I mean, if we're talking about engineering drawings, I'd like to see an engineer's stamp on something before we approve construction change. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. Also, I think there's a concern about property coverage and canopy. Are those numbers? Do you have those numbers, Joel? I think the lot coverage has changed from the original drawing. Is that correct?
We can review that, but there's a note. I want to make a note here. I think there was this note. These notes were on the plan that the retaining wall would, turn toward the road, presumably on either side of the house, and kind of taper down on both sides. That was on the original plans there. I think as a excuse me. So let's see. So yeah, a question about. I think one of the. Let's see.
Heads up, we're at 12 minutes on this.
Okay.
Thank you, Diane.
I think the ACC original conditions were that, yeah, the footprint, home footprint will be reduced to fit the lot coverage rule. And other areas will be reduced to fit the open space rule. And then we'll have to. So we can verify it. We could verify that. It looked like though that the plans. Let's see, the plans that were. These are the plans right now, which are on the current submittal. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah.
These are correct. But I think these ones are actually a little bit larger than, they just have a slightly larger deck and driveway. It doesn't look like they meet those policy requirements when I'm measuring them. Let's see if these numbers up here are also different. Concrete drive and walk. Okay, yeah, so we've got concrete driveway and walkway 670. This is what was part of the approved plan said, but with that condition that it be reduced. And then what you're submitting today shows concrete drive and walk at 717. Entry deck and left side is 310. But then what was submitted today shows entry deck left side 355. So I don't know if it satisfies those conditional requirements at this time. Entry stairs are a little bit larger.
I think considering all this, and because we're gonna ask for a resubmittal for this, well, at this point, do we have a landscape plan? Because I think there needs to be some sort of mitigation for this property coverage and open space and infraction. So can I see what's currently designed for the landscape?
You have that, Joel? Are you driving still?
Yeah, I'm driving here. Let me see if where that's at. Oh, sorry. Was I
think you were.
I was pausing that the whole time and drawing stuff on here.
Okay.
No wonder you guys couldn't tell. So here's what's being, here's what was on the original plans, which were approved. 310 for the deck, 89 for the stairs, 670 for the drive, and 3149 for the total impervious. And so this was what was improved, but then it was also with the condition that open space and property coverage be met. But then what is submitted today, this one. That right, Jay? Now you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Ooh, yeah, no, I don't think that's accurate because those numbers are bigger.
Right. That's what I
right.
found
Yeah,
too.
no. Okay, I've got to touch that up because we definitely shrunk the design, so I need to get in there and touch that up.
Okay. So I guess we'll wait on that.
Okay.
And then you asked about a landscaping plan. Let me see what I got for that.
Jay, you think your actual numbers actually conform more to our policies?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I can get out there. I'm just gonna have to double check the actual measurements on site and then revise the site plan accordingly and show that these numbers meet the requirements.
Okay.
Here's the landscaping plan.
Okay.
My maple is great. Indian plum. Deer ferns along the back. 3 Doug firs, lady ferns.
When you say a Doug fir, what size are those?
Currently, they're not defined in our policy.
Does Jay have some idea?
Nope. This landscaping plan again was before my time, but so I wish I could tell you.
Yeah, I think county does have minimums. At least for like replanting requirements.
And yeah, that's not a problem to just meet whatever the county standards are. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little less concerned if you're saying that you're getting under the property coverage numbers. I'm not as concerned about beefing up your landscape design unless someone else feels that it needs adjusting. Since you will be resubmitting anyway. Does anybody have any feelings about that?
I do not.
I think we should move progress toward a motion.
Okay. Do you have an understanding of our concerns though, Jay?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
You want, you want stamped, something stamped to show what we're gonna do with the retaining wall. That's stamped by an engineer, and yeah, I understand what Joel needs to see on a revised site plan just to show that we're meeting requirements as per as-built conditions. I gotcha.
Okay. John, do you wanna?
Is there a landscaping issue?
I don't think there is.
So it's those two things.
So
It's
the landscape plan as submitted is probably gonna be okay.
So Diane, do you have what you need so far?
Yeah, well, whoever makes
Make the motion, John.
I move on item 27, my motion to deny as submitted. With the comments that were just made about providing open space coverage and engineering report about the new design for a retaining wall at the back of the property.
And also, we'd like to see your plan for the connection between the retaining wall and the existing retaining wall.
Sure.
All in favor of that denial?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All opposed? Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yep, you got it, guys. I think that's it for me. Is that right today?
I think so.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.
Okay, bye. Item 10. We didn't do that, right? Ian?
No.
Daniel,
Yes.
may I ask, I think we have an interested homeowner next to item 1418 Louise View Drive. I think he's still with us.
Yeah.
Should we?
I think is Ian's a homeowner, right? Just
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
homeowner builder.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll do Ian and then we'll go down to that one, John.
Okay.
So item 10. Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So all of these changes that you're requesting, were they already done or what's the
Yeah, a
situation?
good majority of them are done. They kind of had to be done in process, just when they happened and kind of when we found out about materials and things like that. So the, as you guys know, we've been through a lot with this property and the builder and having to deal with all that stuff. And we've had to make a lot of decisions on the fly. A lot of the decisions were actually made before I even realized there was all this process to go through. So now that I'm kind of a little bit more versed in the process, we're, of course, right at the end of the thing. So here we are.
I'm just reviewing.
Okay.
Anybody have any other comments about this one?
It's just up the road from us. I went by and walked by it yesterday. I mean, everything looks nice. Doesn't look like anything's out of place. I think. And the same comment, I think the homeowners identified that there's a lot of changes. I mean, these kinds of things happen sometimes in construction, but it's a little hard for us to then come in after the fact and go, well, we wanted to build A and we built B instead. Of there's nothing, no major modifications. It looks good from the road. So
Yeah, luckily it does all look good. Hate to have you rip some stuff out, but I mean these are good design choices. I think they're all pretty sound.
Can we I'm looking at item 6, page 2, down where it says highlighted gravel pad. And they are requesting that rather than remove it, this pad that the contractor created, they would like to keep it as is for a spot for trash pickup and possible future parking. How does the committee feel about that?
Yeah, that was a good point, John. I did notice that.
I think we're generally averse to creating more street parking going forward. And so I think that would be a possible request that we might consider denying.
I'm kind of on the same page as you, John. I did highlight that as a question that I just missed. Too small for a parking space, but possible future parking space. Could you talk about that a little bit, Ian?
Yeah, that's not really a requirement. We may never request it. We haven't used it for parking. I've just been putting my trash out there. And, you know, at this point, as long as I don't have to remove it, I'm fine with it never being a parking space, at least not for anything significant. Maybe a motorcycle, you know.
So was that one that was approved by the ACC? Was that supposed to be a temporary space that would be
I can't really answer that question, as at the time that was created, that was all handled by my contractor, who's, you know, since in the wind. So again, right now it has a culvert in there. It does need some quarry spalling at the end of it, just to make sure that the erosion is kind of taken care of there. It's fine as is, but I'd like to clean it up.
Sure. How steep is your driveway?
Degrees wise, it's something like 12 or 14. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Not too scary.
No, it's not terrible.
It's got kind of a unique twist to it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got an interesting twist to it. We can only really feasibly enter it from Swallow Circle. That was kind of always the plan, but just kind of the way it spilled out, that's where we are. We have a Jeep, so it's fine.
So Joe, what usually happens when they have sort of construction, parking, and when the construction is over, what do they usually do to that?
Well, this is why we're here to, a temporary parking needs to be removed, you know, and a culvert, assuming there's culvert dropped in there and the ditch reestablished and restored. And so that's part of the reason this approval is on here. So Ian called out for his final, and I went out there and caught a lot of these things and told him, you know, he needed to get approval, and this parking, or I don't know if it's not probably large enough to really be a parking pad.
No, it's really small.
Yeah, but you know, I let him know, hey, this you need approval for this because it represents a change to the ditch in the right of way.
So who would be responsible for actually making it a permanent space as it is without expanding it to parking?
Well, ACC would need to give it approval as is right now, and then I'd have Mike Brock come and take a look at it too and see if there's anything that needs to be, if he's going to approve it or remedy it, or he could also deny it. And so it needs both ACC and Sun Valley maintenance.
So this is a construction change request for exterior lighting, facade, colors, landscaping plan, which I guess would include then the gravel pad, or is it not? I mean, Daniel, could we approve the construction change request subject to the removal of the temporary construction parking?
Yeah, I think we can. We'll just word our motion that way. And that's kind of my inclination. And it sounds like John's also.
I'll go along with that. I initially thought this was maybe temporary construction parking, and as such, we would request that it be restored to whatever appropriate level, pending Mike's determination.
So is that the motion then?
Can I interject really quick?
Yes, please.
The way that the driveway is situated on that side, there is a short retaining wall. It's made just out of granite that kind of leads down to that pad. And I'm wondering how large of a pad we can leave just so that we have correct stability down there. Because I think that if I remove it all the way up to the wall, we're going to have some stability issues. So we want to make sure that we have enough of that pad left over just so that we don't have any sort of issues. There's a tree right there as well. So we kind of have to mitigate that a little.
In the original drawings, is there a plan for how that is set back to the original? I mean, they can't just leave it where the driveway is going to spill over. Wait, what was the original plan for that? Because the intention, I assume the intention was to revert that back to original, but it sounds like something needs to be done to maintain that driveway. Is that your concern, Ian?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that where that everything is sitting is stable down below. Like I said, I don't want to cut that pad down so far that it reaches that space where the rocks hit.
Yeah, I agree, and I would assume that when the contractor finishes this up, it should be that's part of what his plan was, to make it stable and consistent with our policy.
Yeah, I again, I have to kind of revert to the hilarity that my contractor was in his poor communication and just kind of keeping me out of the loop of things that are actually required. Again, I coming into this at the end of the process and just trying to get my house built.
Sure, yeah.
You know, going through all that. So if I'm understanding it, now, can we get Mike to come out and see if it can stay as is per his recommendation, or is that something that's kind of right out of the conversation?
If I may,
Sure.
my proposed motion would be approval for lighting, colors, and exterior facade, and then leave the landscaping part out of it pending Mike's review. Would you feel good about that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right, and if Mike's approval or disapproval is what we need to do, that's what we need to do. But we would need to kind of extend our construction deadline, because it's coming up on the 22nd. So trying to wrap things up as quick as possible.
Yeah, Alan, I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying. You're okay with the pad as it is?
No, what I'm saying is I wanted to approve the request for the exterior lighting,
Sure.
facade, and colors, and then hold off on approving the landscape, the pad area until we have Mike's input. Basically, drop the pad from this approval.
Okay, so then he would resubmit for that.
But then he'd have to get a construction extension.
Yeah,
understood.
I don't want to, because we've had several, and I don't want to, draw this out or having stuff like that we're trying to avoid.
Daniel, can I see if I think I can maybe tackle this a bit of a different way and get to the same place?
Yeah.
Alan, I think the landscaping plan is different than this gravel pad issue.
Okay. My interpretation was landscape, but keep going.
Yeah, that's where I saw it at first too, but if you look at page 204 on item 10, he's got a list of 5 things there.
Yeah, six things. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then I think we could approve, everything with the exception of the gravel pad, and ask them to take the gravel pad out based on the original plan. That would then, Ian wouldn't have to file a construction extension request, because taking that all out was part of the construction. So we're not continuing the construction, we're wrapping it up. And then, Ian, I think I see your concern there that if you're coming down the driveway to the right there, you got that rock wall or that retaining wall. You don't want to just pull the dirt back all the way tight up against that, because you got that tree there. So leaving somewhat of a, a setback there, maybe 5 or 10 feet off of the edge of that block wall, helps to create slope stability for the tree and for the driveway, and then just take out the balance of that temporary parking. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that temporary parking is not much more than 10 feet to begin with. So again, it's not really, it was temporary parking before the driveway went in, but then the driveway filled in a majority of it. And that's what's left is just kind of what's left over. I will be having an excavator out there this weekend. So if I need to pull some stuff out of there, I can. Just, rather not, but I understand, from an aesthetic point of view, you don't want to have just a gravel pad sitting there without any, any sort of plan as to what to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's the concern, is that we don't want to leave it open-ended for someone to come along later and think, oh, there's a parking spot that we can park in. Like when you remove that, I think I'm comfortable with leaving some there for slope stability. Just at the end of the day, slope stability, place to put a trash can, something like that, but not a place to park.
Whatever's done might, SPCA needs to approve it. So you can still approve all this stuff and say, and include that pad, but whatever he does to it, SPCA has to approve it. He has to obtain permission from SPCA.
Okay. I have a follow-up question. Would it be permittable for me to just fill it and slope it against that tree rather than taking the pad out? Just
you have to talk to SPCA about that.
Okay.
Right, Joel? Are you there?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Whatever is done there is at the discretion of Mike Rock, who is SPCA.
Okay. I can get up with him and we can discuss that and kind of.
I can get you guys connected.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Could we do a motion?
Yeah, Dan, could you please do that?
Could we do a motion that would accept the construction change request, with the exception of the gravel pad, and request that the gravel pad for parking, temporary construction parking, be removed? And then if Ian wants to take that material and fill it on the upslope and then get Mike to come by and approve that post-construction condition, then that works for us.
I like that.
Yes.
So I heard an Alan motion, and now I've heard a Dan B motion.
We modified Alan, so I would say I don't know who actually made it, but I think it was essentially what Alan was saying. Dan clarified.
I will support my esteemed colleague on that motion.
We'll call that a group motion.
Okay, so no parking, but whatever is done is approved by SPCA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does anyone want to restate that besides me?
I thought Dan did.
Okay.
Pretty well.
So no, the point there is that no parking space should be there at the end.
We're approving the construction change request with the exception of the gravel pad. That needs to be the construction gravel pad that was put in there that needs to be removed. And with final sign off for the culvert and drainage done by Mike from Sudden Valley.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you, Ian.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Sorry, guys, it's hard.
No, we want clarification. We want to make this as easy as possible for you.
Okay.
And we go to item 13.
14 is what you had said.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, 14. Thank you. So this is Ilya?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Also.
Are you there, Joel?
Yeah, I'm just good at setting things up here. Get the right page. Item 13, 14, 18 Louise Drive.
14, yeah. Yeah, so one of the basic concerns we have here is the property lines. There has been some dispute, and before we make any kind of ruling at all, we can't determine what the property lines are. We just want to, and we decided to defer to you to the extent we can, whether the existing property lines are accurate, or have they moved, or do you have any, could you fill us in on that at all?
Are you asking me or asking?
I'm asking you, Joel.
Ilya? Oh, so
Yeah, we went and saw that. We went
Yeah.
recently last Tuesday and looked at property lines, and the one we were most concerned about was on the front on the left.
Hmm.
And as it stands, it is right next to a water meter, I believe.
Mhm.
Is that accurate to the best of your knowledge?
It's not unusual for them to be near a water meter.
Okay.
You know, but as far as accuracy is involved, you know, when we see when I see a surveyor's property pin in the ground, I trust, you know, I don't have a way of, I rely on those to be accurate, right? Those are set by the surveyor, and to the best of my knowledge, they can't be removed or relocated except by another licensed surveyor. But I have no, you know, I think there's been a dispute about it being moved, but I don't have any evidence of it being moved. So
Does it sound typical that they would be right on water, right where the water meter is, or is that
Yeah,
unusual?
I don't think that's unusual. Usually they'll bring water meters right up to the property line.
Yeah.
Mhm. And they'll do a water meter sometimes right at the corner between two lots, and it can serve then both lots at the same time.
I'd like to add, if you look at the site plan that was given to us and we sent it over to you guys from the surveyors, it shows exactly what the pins show when you guys came out there and met with us the other day.
Mhm.
Based on the location of utilities.
Yeah, we did see that stake. Well, we saw the rebar with the pin on top of it.
And then the water meter
covering.
right there.
Yeah. And that, you know, that's sort of has to be our basic understanding, that can we trust that? And, you know, to the extent that we can, that's what we're gonna go by.
Yeah, it was done by a licensed surveyor, so.
Okay, well, you know, that's the knowledge that we have, and that's what we will work with. Could we see a drawing with the trees and the property lines, please?
Like a tree canopy plan here?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, one of my concerns particularly is because this house does kind of push the boundaries on what's permissible as far as lot coverage and canopy. I want to make sure that no neighboring trees are damaged in any way, because it's a big ask to push it. You know, all your numbers are right at the limit there. So that's why we're looking at this so carefully.
Yes, we understand.
So what are you showing us there, Joel?
Oh, these are the trees. I'm just marking them for trees to be proposed to be removed according to the trees on the site plan.
Okay.
Not that I ever want to bring this up ever again, but this is another one that wants to pump stormwater up to the road level.
And this is also a very steep property too, Dan.
I mean, if I'm looking at the map right, the difference is that the downslope below the property is just a green space, sort of looks like Sudden Valley owns a big swale there or something. And then beyond that is Lake Louise Drive, but I'm just previewing this discussion that we're gonna need to have because we just told another guy we didn't like that part of their design, so we need to be consistent.
We're in engineering right now, in engineering for getting that pumped uphill, but we have that marked on this plan, on the site plan. It'll get pumped uphill into the nearest ditch. I know one of the concerns the neighbor had was his culvert might not be of the right size, but when we had the meeting out there, I checked out the culvert and it's a 12-inch culvert, and the ditch doesn't see very much water now, so it can definitely handle one house worth of stormwater.
Has Mike looked at that, Joel?
I'm not sure if Mike has been out to this one yet to look at the culvert. We're talking about the culvert in front of the neighboring house here.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a 12-inch culvert.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we would definitely need to have Sudden Valley sign off on the capacity of the current drainage system, but then also maybe a discussion around if we say yes to this one and we didn't say yes, we said no to the other one, in part because of the drainage and the concern about stormwater. How do we reconcile that? I mean, again, you could point to the fact that the downslope here, there's nobody downslope of this house. So if the pump fails or what, just ends up.
We're in the same. It's the same situation as the last one, where this is SVCA on the park behind it, and their current position is to not allow a stormwater easement. So because of that, and their engineer actually chimed in recently in an email that said their only option now is to pump uphill into the ditch.
Right, and we have the same exact situation. We got a utility ditch that we will be digging for sewer, but we're not allowed to use that for stormwater, so we are planning on pumping it uphill unless SVCA changes their mind or changes their stance on that factor.
And just to clarify, Dan, I think we didn't necessarily deny because of that. We wanted more information.
Right, yeah.
More clarification. And I'm not sure if we need more information for this one too, more discussion. How do you feel about that?
So we're not.
There's a couple layers to this one. I mean, first of all, I think we want to be consistent. So if we ultimately, wherever we end up with the Valley View ones, we want to be consistent. So if we don't get comfortable with the pumping uphill there, why? For me anyway, it was the potential effect on the downslope homeowners. In this case, there's no downslope homeowners. If the pump were to fail or something went cattywampus, all the water looks like it just runs off down into the open space down there and doesn't really do any damage. There's no homes below the downslope. So that would be one thing I think we'd want to note very carefully as the difference between the two. So, but then also, we had the same issue with Valley View, which is we want Sudden Valley maintenance to sign off on the fact that the drainage system that's in place now can accommodate additional drainage from this lot, because the natural topography there is not to drain into that spot, it's to drain away from that. So if we're going to create an unnatural condition of drainage, we just need to make sure that the current system that's in place there will handle it. And if it's not, then the builder needs to be responsible for improving that. But that's a determination that Sudden Valley needs to make. So.
Yeah, and a consistent determination too. I'm not sure they have wrapped their collective brains around how these things are going to be approached. As Jay pointed out, this is going to be something that comes up more and more, and we need to make some decisions about that that will apply to everyone.
Point of clarification. Thank you, Daniel. Point of clarification. When Joanne joined our meeting for the Valley View property discussion, it seemed to me quite obvious that stormwater going downhill is not acceptable. Am I reading that correctly?
No, going through the greens or Sudden Valley property or green space, it
Right.
wasn't that it was going downhill.
Right, that's what I'm referring to. Thank you.
Okay. And so is the park the same situation, Joel?
That's correct.
Okay.
So it appears that there's only one real solution, which is to pump the stormwater uphill through the ditch.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah, and their stormwater engineer chimed in and also said this is your only option.
And,
So
and
that-
it may very well be that, you know, with this one, we look at it and say, well, that, while not ideal, is a workable solution in this case, because there's no downslope impacts there's no landowners or homeowners downslope that would be impacted by a failure of the system. You know, we may not be able to say that on Valley View. That may be ultimately, at least where I land on the Valley View one, is you can't mitigate those impacts. In this case, you can mitigate the impact. So, but I think the bigger issue is, do we have enough assurance that the stormwater system that's in place on the roadside is adequate for this lot? So it almost feels like we're kind of in the same spot we were with Valley View. So.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Well, we can have a week. Maybe you could request that their engineer verify that, or Sudden Valley. I mean, Sudden Valley, Mike Brock will come out and visit the sites for part of the REPA approval, because he is looking at things that are proposed to occur in the right of way, like the driveway and the culvert and utilities connections. So we could bring it to Mike Brock's attention as well during that time.
Joel,
Yeah.
when 8 and 10 are discussed in that meeting, this one could be brought up also.
Okay.
Okay. In addition, this is a really big house for this lot. I know we're right at the numbers that they need to hit, but when we consider this lot, its slope and its proximity to other properties, I'm not sure this design fits in this space. And does anybody have any concerns about this? I think it's, what's this, a 3,200 square foot house?
Yeah, that's the living area.
This is a huge house, and it's inconsistent with the neighboring houses there. And
It's
that
also
lot is pretty
very-
small. And
It's
you're
also-
asking for a lot of trees to be cut down. Where are the trees that aren't going to be cut down? Are there some up there too?
The square footage of the main floor is way under 3,000. That's the total for all 3 floors.
Right. That's
Correct. Yeah.
living area.
It's a big house though. I mean, the footprint is one issue, but the total living space, I mean, it's a big box of construction in that small space.
Yeah,
But it meets
I mean, I
all
think
the-
SDA could ask for replanting of trees, additional trees.
Yeah, I'm trying to see are there trees that aren't going to be cut?
Yeah, so all these trees marked here are trees which are proposed to be removed. They're also marked on the plan. How many trees is that?
Yeah, how many trees is that?
1, 2. 19?
19 trees, and two aren't going to be cut.
Looks like this one will remain, and this one, and this is, I think, shared or under ownership of the neighboring lot.
Okay.
Plus, there were already trees cut down at the bottom of the hill outside of the footprint of the house.
Those trees are included on this site plan, although they're down already, but they're still marked as to be removed. Those aren't additional trees.
Okay, thank you.
You're at 15 minutes.
Thank you, Diane.
Joel's also flagged, or somebody in the notes flagged the lighting and the colors, if you look at that.
We also
Fine.
have a hand raised by the neighbor, BJ.
Okay, well, let's talk to, let's answer Dan's comment.
I'm just making a note that, you know, as we're throwing some things on the wall here to look at, the colors don't appear to be Sudden Valley approved colors, and then the light, it's hard to tell by the picture, it's kind of blurry, but that may be one of those lights that doesn't have the right sconce around it for shading, so just keep that in mind. But let's hear.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I couldn't tell if that was how frosted that was, because there is that requirement that we do not see the light bulb. That it does have to be a pretty frosted light, so you can't see a lot of glare.
Yeah, and then the colors, but
And
yeah,
the colors aren't approved, and they're they're a little funny anyway. So
the colors can be changed, but the light was off of the approved list of lights that you guys approve.
Okay,
we have a list of lights. Or...
Yeah, I guess that's what Alex is telling me. He pulled it off of your guys' list.
Okay, we have some. Yeah, we have a couple of photos, but we want to ensure that those light bulbs can't be seen when the. Yeah, there it is. So we want to ensure that the glass is opaque enough that you can't see the light bulb unless the light is on.
Yeah,
we just want to ensure that there's no glaring light for the neighbors.
You can see it better in that picture.
Yeah.
I think Diane said the neighbor had a hand raised.
Yes. DJ?
Unmute.
Yes,
There you go.
I am here. I had a couple of concerns, and they've not been answered. On July 2nd, when the ACC came out to our site, we could not find the boundary pin. It was not visible, and it certainly was not at the location it is now. And Joel is right that the boundary pins are set by a licensed surveyor, but anyone can move them. The rebar can be relocated. That is something that happens all the time. It is not considered to be legal to do that because that is changing the plat. So that's one issue, that the boundary, the integrity of the boundary is going to be paramount before anything can happen in terms of moving forward with this construction. That's my standing as far as the boundary. Also, the boundary was taking some zigzags that we saw on the last site visit. So my thing is that you can't play around with the boundary line. It totally compromises the integrity of my property. That's one. The second thing is that we've discussed at length about tree canopy, drip line, root prevention, root damage prevention, and so forth. So we've not really established how far in 18 Louise View Drive can they start building, because there seems to be a tendency to cut the roots, and that's going to compromise my existing trees, not just the boundary, but also the very large tree on the corner. Some of the trees that they have proposed to cut down in the top left of the diagram, that is the north side, those trees will actually could not be cut safely, because if they even limb up, they're going to be cutting into the large tree on the corner, the Douglas fir that we've all seen, which is adjacent to their property on the slope. So, and as you go up those two trees that I'm talking about, which is in 18 Louise View Drive property, they are inextricably connected in the branches to the large tree. And by that, I mean, if you start cutting it, you're going to be limbing up the tree on my property. So we've got that issue as well. So you're affecting the drip line. So you're artificially reducing the drip line. So that's one issue, but we really haven't talked about the root mitigation. And I'm in conversations with the county. Generally, the acceptable is, and this is something that they cannot guarantee, but they're talking about beyond the drip line, we're talking about 25 to 30 feet out, which is why I wanted to bring this up at this time, which is appropriate. And that is that because of the 40 degree slope at the location, let me put it this way, Louisville Drive is the south end. So at that end, going down towards the north end, towards the green space, the top end is 40 degrees down slope. It levels out towards the northeast corner of 18 Louisville Drive, where you have the retention basin closer to the green belt. So my proposal is for ACC to seriously consider to help Yevstasky Cynic to build his property is to switch plots. That is, to make this plot 18 Louisville Drive currently a green space and provide the green space as the plot for them to build. This will immediately remove all the issues about tree retention. It will remove the issue of boundary line, although
I don't believe that's possible, BJ.
Why not, Diane?
Well, if it were,
Because
it would take forever to.
Well, and once it's my understanding of a note right here on my computer that says, once it's determined to be green space, it can never be sold.
Well, I don't think that's accurate, Diane, because I've been speaking to Brambleway, 36 Brambleway, and that was supposed to be green space in perpetuity. And it was, I think SVCA actually broke it up, the green belt, into plots, and it was sold. So it has been done. There's precedent for that. And so what I'm saying is not unnatural or out of the ordinary, because this leads on to one other issue, and that is that the damage done by the logging last November, by 18 Louisville Drive, has actually damaged what we hold in common for all of us neighbors, and that is the green belt below 18 Louisville Drive. That has been damaged, I would say, beyond repair. So who's going to compensate for the regeneration of that property, which is held by SVCA and which has the Lake Louise Trail running through it? That was significant. I mean, it was recorded on video that has been provided. So all of
BJ,
that.
I think we're going to have to operate under the assumption that property line changes are not going to happen. And if they did, it would take, I'm sure, years. I would propose, and this was my biggest concern when I saw this house is too big for this lot.
I agree.
I think there's a significant number of trees that are going to have to come down. And once they come down, what do you have left on this property? This is not Sudden Valley. This is just a vacant lot. I think it's just too big. I think there's just, too many trees are coming down. It's affecting neighbor trees, not only VJ's, but the other side is a green space, but it is, it's still property. We want some trees up here.
May I respond?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so to respond on the point that the neighbor made about the boundary pin, on our last meeting that we had, and I may have told you guys this when we met on the site, right after the meeting, to clarify things for the neighbor, I drove down and rang his doorbell a couple times. He came out and I said, hey, I'd like to show you the pin that's there. I kicked off a couple leaves off of it and it was right there. And I offered to show him and he said no. And I guess after the fact, he trespassed me off his lot. So that's that. And then as far as the size of the house, it's within your guys' regulations. And we're willing to work with you on, you know, meeting the regulations. And if you look in between the neighbors and the new construction house on the site plan, we suggested that we would plant a row of trees right there. And then we could also plant more trees to mitigate for the, was that 17 trees that are getting removed total, 15 now after the neighbor requested to take, for us to take down the tree that was after a storm leaning over his property. And Sudden Valley reached out to us and asked us to take care of that. And we have not removed some of that wood that went across, that's left on the other side of the sidewalk, but that's due to, we didn't want to, this was middle of winter and we didn't want to tear up any vegetation. We'd like to do it in the dry time, summertime. So as soon as we are allowed to get machinery in there, we'll obviously clean that up and restore any damaged bushes that got damaged, but no trees got hit or touched during the removal of the trees the tree that was slanting over the neighbor's house.
Daniel, you're at 26 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick response, really quick.
Yes, please, DJ.
And I appreciate the translator, Mr. Ilya Geckelman, providing his viewpoint. We've not heard from Yevstaki directly, but my point is this, that it's been documented, the damage has been documented beyond proof. So no matter what is said by the other gentleman, it cannot be undone. That's number one. The second point that I make is that the replanting or mitigation of putting additional trees is very simple. When you have a tree that's 100 years old, 90 feet tall, and you replace it by smaller saplings, how long would it take to provide the same carbon sequestration and the oxygen output that we currently have with the canopy? I would ask Mr. Geckelman, the translator, to provide that information, because I don't think he can provide adequate information about that. There is none.
Yeah, so
But
once you
well,
remove it,
let me just say that, you know,
let me finish, Mr. Geckelman. Once you remove these trees, these old growth trees, you cannot replace them until 80, 90 years later. That's my point.
VJ, I think everybody on our committee realizes that, and we do consider that when we're determining whether this replanting is appropriate. I don't think we need him to give us numbers.
Thank you.
We understand that, you know, this is essentially what I'm seeing as a clear cut. And in my view, you know, there's nothing you could replant to replace that. And I think it comes down, for me, the size of this house on this lot. I think it's too big. I think it's encroaching on a lot of Sudden Valley green space, and I'm not happy with it. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but you know, it's rare that you see a house that just completely, in my mind, just completely does not work because of its size. And it's a small lot, I understand, and it's an unusual lot because of the slope. But I mean, convince me that it's not a clear cut when you're putting this house in.
which requirements are we breaking? Because for a 60-foot wide lot, that's pretty standard to be border to border. I have a couple lots, the one that I built on already, same deal. And then the one I'm doing next.
I understand those are guidelines and those are numbers that you've met, but we also need to make a determination whether this house, this design fits within the property. And you're not unduly disturbing the natural environment that you're building in. So that's my view. I'd like to hear what my committee thinks about that too. Anybody else have any opinions about that?
Daniel, as I'm looking at the site plan that's currently on the screen, I see those four, if I'm reading this correctly, the four trees at the bottom right of that picture that are highlighted in red. I don't know why those need to be taken down. Is that
I think those are
Right.
replacement trees, right?
Yeah,
those
all
are-
these things I've highlighted red here are replacement trees and plants.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Could we see the tree removal plan again, please, Joel? Okay, great. So I guess well, sort of the same thing holds true, like the four trees that are at the bottom of the screen there, highlighted in red. Why did those need to be taken out? I guess is the question. If we're talking about tree removals and clear cutting.
So here they are.
The one in the driveway makes some sense, but the other ones, I'm with John. Why do you need to take those out?
Plus, I think I could be wrong, but the tree to the left, the 22-inch alder, I think that's got a tag on it. I thought I saw a tag on that. So maybe that needs to be verified.
Well, there was a question in the notes from the AC about the 22-inch fir tree. There's a 22-inch fir tree that appears to be under shared ownership. Did that get resolved?
No, we haven't discussed that yet, other than VJ saying the construction would impact roots and the like.
So if that's a shared tree, then the neighboring owner needs to give permission to have that tree taken out, right?
We're not taking down that tree.
Well, maybe not initially, but we need to ensure that that won't be damaged in any way. The root line. How far is that away from that corner there?
Oh, sorry, how far is the tree away from the corner of the house?
Yes.
I think that's about 8 feet from the property line to the eaves there.
Yeah.
But you could see the house bumps in.
You could have a request for an arborist to come out and evaluate the tree for damage.
Yeah, we will definitely do that if because I explained to the committee that we have a stepping foundation, so we won't be digging very deep, but also that shop past the garage, it steps in, so we're closer to 10 feet, 8 to 10 feet away for the majority of the root system. So I think that tree can definitely be saved. And that's the direction we're leaning. If there's any damage done, then we would definitely need to get an opinion from an arborist.
We're at 33 minutes, guys.
Thank you.
At a minimum, then we need, before we could consider approving this, we need to have an arborist report. And then we also need to have a confirmation from Sudden Valley Maintenance that the drainage system at the front of the property is acceptable. And again, I'm still wrestling with the consistency of the valley, making sure what we do here is consistent with Valley View, at least in terms of the intent. I mean, I think we've already talked about the downslope thing. We don't need to beat that up again, but Daniel, what do you see as a path forward here?
No, I think you're on the right track, Dan. We need to have more discussions and clarification on the drainage situation, and it's not all, the builder's concern. We need to make a consistent decision on how we fall on these determinations. And also the trees. Again, I'm concerned about the trees, and I don't, as you can see in one of our previous applications, trees get damaged during construction, and then you say, oh, it's dead, so we got to cut it. I don't want that to happen. I need a very clear plan and an arborist report that would tell me clearly that that tree on the neighbor's property will not be damaged in any way, or any on the other side, which is, also a neighbor, which is Sudden Valley. So any trees that would be close to that, because and we're being hard on this because this is, you're pushing the borders, open space. So we need to be very clear that this is going to fit within this space. So those are my two biggest concerns, as Dan suggested earlier. So my suggestion is that we deny as submitted until we get more information from an arborist report and from engineering as to what can be pumped uphill. Is that how you
Well, we
see
can't
it,
really,
Dan?
can't really get an arborist report on the root system until it's under construction, because roots vary, and if you just go off of a general
Well, we'd like to hear
general
that from an
data,
arborist.
Well, I thought we've had arborist reports on potential damage from construction, haven't we?
Yes.
I don't see why we couldn't.
well, okay, so I guess just make it clear what you guys need moving forward, and we'll make those adjustments.
Okay.
Because we made all the adjustments you requested last time.
Well, one of the things that was from the 720, if I'm looking at the page 4 of 17 from the 7:2 minutes, which I wasn't there, because the tree appears to be at least partially on the lot line and under shared ownership, the builder would need to obtain their written permission, a certified arborist report to evaluate the tree. So there was a recommendation from the committee at the last meeting to get an arborist report.
My understanding was that was during construction, not right now. But yeah, we could take care of that.
Well, and I think the other part is going to be
chance.
addressing the stormwater issue, and I'd like to also know, like, what happens if that pump, what happens when that pump fails, the power goes out, something goes wrong with that pump stormwater, where's it going to end up?
Makes sense.
VJ, do you still have your hand held up?
No, I don't. Okay. I just want to thank you for all the considerations.
Sure.
May I ask, since the survey and boundary pin are such a hot topic here, a contested topic, I should say, are we stipulating that the boundary pin is actually in the correct location, the one at the front left? Based on Joel's assessment?
Based on the information I have, it is, but that's Joel, we're deferring to Joel, I guess, at this point.
May I add something to this?
Sure, VJ.
Is the boundary recorded?
What do you mean by that?
Is the survey recorded, the boundary survey?
With the county?
Yep.
The lot lines are recorded from the very beginning. The surveyor just comes out and puts the corner pins in and identifies lot lines.
I don't think that's totally accurate. I believe that the entire division is recorded, but the plats are surveyed, but the boundaries can be surveyed too.
Like I said, we
can be recorded.
We're just working with what we got from the survey company.
I know it's not enough.
Well, it's not enough for you, but that's just a standard.
Oh, we can't argue about where the pin is, Joel. I mean, can we operate under the assumption that the pin is in the right spot as it stands? I mean,
we usually do. The surveyors hired to come out and survey the lot. We defer to that expert in that.
I mean, I assume if some legal action were taken, something would happen. But as far as our committee is concerned, we see the pin, and that's all we can go by. And that's what we will go by. And if that's something that you need to pursue legally, I don't know anything about that end of things, but we're going to have to operate under the assumption that this is a correct pin.
If there is this, VJ, you could hire a surveyor to come out and establish that corner to verify it.
Certainly, I'll do that, and I'll bill the neighbor.
Oh, you can't bill us. We already
we can't.
You'd be establishing where you'd be determining where your property corner is too.
That's true, Joe. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you could survey your lot, and it would you know, we don't give permission to survey Alex's lot. You can survey your lot, which would give you the corner that our surveyor put
Thank
in.
you for letting me know what I know I need to do.
And you can just do one side of it. You don't have to do the whole lot. You could just do one side of your property.
That is correct. Thank you,
yeah.
Diane, because
Mhm.
that's the boundary, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that would be perfect.
in the interest of getting some resolution today, at least, I'm gonna make a motion that we deny and request that the builder come back with a arborist report on specifically on that tree that's been identified. And that they also have, we get some clarity from Sudden Valley Maintenance on the capacity of the drainage system. If it's going to be pumped up, that would be number two. Number three would be what happens to the stormwater when the system fails, what's the end result? Where does that water end up? So we can get some clarity on that. And then the fourth one would be a change to the exterior siding colors and trim colors to something that's in the Sudden Valley color sheet. So that's my motion.
I think that states all my concerns.
May I just add, as far as the arborist report, have them look at those trees, I mentioned earlier, at the front of the house that don't appear, you know, where Joel's showing right now, those trees and possibly the 22-inch alder on the left.
How can we reference those in our report,
Okay,
Joel?
so you guys want to try to save a couple of the trees next to the driveway?
There appear to be three of them. There's a 6-inch, 8-inch, and another one, and then the 22-inch alder by the driveway.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into that.
Look at those, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Diane, did you get what you need from that motion?
Yeah. Thank you.
All in favor of that motion?
Of denial?
Denial, yes, with those notes that Dan articulated. I think Dan made the motion.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor of the denial?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vijay, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
As I understand it, you're gonna attempt to get a survey of at least the right side of your property?
Yes, I'm looking into it right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, with the understanding that we're only going to operate with what's existing until we hear otherwise. That's just our limitation.
Correct, yes.
And that the new survey person won't move any current pins in the ground, but rather just establish.
Do you want that approved, or will they do the survey and record it and then inform ACC, HOA? How do you want to proceed on that?
I was just saying that the new survey that you're going to hire won't move any current pins or stakes. They will just determine where they see as the boundary markers.
Right, and they'd have to actually establish some, I guess, additional pin or boundary markers to establish what they've done. Otherwise,
correct.
Right. Okay.
Yes, thank you. That I just want to get really clear about that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. How about item 13, Vitale, retaining wall. We're revisiting the retaining wall.
I don't know if he's still here. He's appeared, but he doesn't have he has his hand raised. He's here. All right.
I think he did what we asked him to do. We got an engineer's report, is that correct?
Yep. Page 2, item 13. Based on these factors, the retaining wall is not structurally required. Is there any discussion needed on this one?
I think my only point is that part of what we look at is that it kind of looks messy back there without one, but as far as the engineer's report goes, I'm okay with that. Want to do a motion, John?
Sure, motion to approve item 13, 18 Sudden Valley. As requested. As submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Item 15, 31 Bramble Way.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Chad. Just scrolling down to 15. Well, setback issues are okay, I guess, on this one.
It appears that the last step is just slightly in the setback, but I can't really determine that. I'm looking at page 1.
Yeah, I'll look at that too. You know if that's the case, Joel?
Oh, it looks like they do go to the edge of the lot there.
So it goes beyond the setback?
Yeah, it is within that 5-foot setback.
What's going on that side of the house? Is that on the neighbor's property? What is that?
So this area is, I mean, this is Sudden Valley right away here. What you see, kind of existing gravel, labeled existing gravel access. And this is at a dead end street. There's one residence down here. I think only one residence that has uses this as access. Is that right, Chad?
Correct. There's one house in the back, and then they're the only one that accesses that. What the steps are landscape steps, so they're cut into the ground to create safe access down the steep slope to the owner's property.
So this would
Client
not,
actually fell down the hill, so they asked us to put some landscape steps to access off of that down.
so in addition to this being a construction change, we'd need a variance request too, wouldn't we?
This is a variance request for.
Well, if they're landscape steps, I don't know if.
Oh, but I'm looking at the construction change request.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
So I'm not sure that's that's what we're looking at here. I mean, there is a variance, right? Is that's the way I'm seeing it, Joel. Is that correct?
I don't see a variance here. Is that what you're asking? I don't see a variance submitted, just a construction request.
I mean, I don't see one, but do we need one for this? This is, it goes within the setback, correct?
Yeah, it does go in that setback.
So it would be in addition to this.
Yeah. But would construction be the correct form, or would it be a landscape?
It would be construction change because it's a change to the construction.
Okay.
And then and a variance because it's in the setback.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware that I needed a variance for the setback. Sorry, guys.
We didn't think about it either, Chad. But he's right.
Does anybody have any issues with the actual idea of these stairs?
No, they look fine to me. It's a good catch on the dropping them into the setback. I mean, I wonder if they could turn halfway and go down to the other direction, but we'll let the builder come back with a proposal there.
So is that actually beyond the border, the property line?
No, my red arrow just went, box just happened to go a little past the property line mark when I drew it in.
So how close is it to the property line?
We start about where the property line is and then starts going downhill steep.
Okay.
And there's no possibility way of turning it to the side because it actually slopes up even more turning towards following the side of the house.
Okay. Yeah, there's another problem when you start pushing these houses right to the borders.
It was not originally put in there because at the time we did not realize we were going to need to put an access into that crawl space there. And when we did, there needed to be access to it.
My point is that when we consider these houses that are designed to go right to the edge, they're 5 foot, and you know all the coverage that they sometimes ask. This is what we look at. We know that there are going to be some changes, and it looks to me like that's probably the only design you can use for this kind of stairway. Here we are. We have to consider whether we can allow this when, if the house were pushed to the edges, it wouldn't even be a question. So that's, you know, that's why we're being so tough. Even though if you hit those numbers just right, you're right at the 5 feet. You know, we have to consider what's going to come later, and this is a case where something came later.
So Daniel, how would we proceed with this? I mean, the construction change request doesn't appear to be unreasonable, but it ends up creating a variance request.
Right, it would go on the next meeting and you could deny or not. If you're leaning toward denying it, then you would want to deny this. If you're leaning toward approving the variance, then you'd want to approve this.
Well, I don't think we can approve something that clearly is, you know, in the setback and looks like it's right on the edge of the property line. So I make a motion that we deny this construction change request and ask the builder to come back with a construction change request with a proper variance for what they're trying to do here.
I have a question so that in the future when I'm on this, where does it state that a variance is requested or anything cannot, like a set of stairs or landscape stairs or some access pathway cannot be in the setback? Because at times you have to put one in for access. I'm just trying to see so if we can futurely avoid some situations, or is a set of landscape steps really?
Yeah, let's take a look here.
Like that's like could have been a gravel path, which is the same concept of what we did there, because they're timber stairs with gravel steps. They're not actual concrete stairs or raised framed deck stairs. So I'm just trying to make sure to see it so I can understand.
Yeah, let's look at the policies here, Chad.
Yeah.
So it includes roof projections and decks, which
this is not a deck.
Yeah, it's not a deck. I know other landscaping elements can be included into the setback area.
It's not a deck, but it's a fixed feature of the house. I mean, it's
part of the house.
Yeah, a gravel path is not a set of stairs that's attached to the house. So,
well, these steps are not attached to the house. They're actually in the ground.
Well, I mean, we consider that with landscaping too. Landscaping can't go into setbacks like that.
I think landscaping can.
well, what are they attached to? They're not attached to that. What are they?
Landscaping is not part of the structure.
I don't understand how you have a set of stairs that are to the back of the house. Maybe that's where
Think of ground steps cut into the ground and just actual steps with gravel with treated lumber support enforcing and holding the ground.
Okay, I got you now. I was thinking they were steps coming out of the house. Okay, so they're there's steps that are built into the ground to take you from one elevation down to the other.
Yeah, like what you would do up a steep path and cut it into the ground and armor it so that it doesn't wash away or flow away and holds the gravel steps. Like
Okay.
we've seen that on some of the Sun Valley parks.
Yeah, I got you now. That I was thinking they were steps that were like wooden steps being built onto the side of the house. So
Okay.
That's what I was envisioning too.
yeah,
That's why I was confused on a variance because I understood the decks and roofs, but I was like, okay, I didn't know that. Where does it say it so I can prep for the future?
yeah.
I have a photo I can show if in a minute here.
Joel, it's not an accessory structure, correct?
No, these are just landscape steps.
Right, right.
Just
I'm clear, but I'm trying to figure out if they fall into the category of accessory structure.
I don't.
I don't think so, but I'm asking the question
Oh.
because there's another set of rules on setbacks for accessory structures.
Well, the thing I consider is if there were a neighbor there and it was right at their property, would they want stairs go right into their property? So there's no way to go down those stairs without going into the neighboring property. And admit it, this is what was it, a golf course back there? What's next door?
No, just trees.
Just trees?
Just more Sun Valley Park and the Whatcom County Park behind it after you. This is on top of Gate 9, way up at the top.
Yeah, I think probably not an issue for this situation, but you know, if you had a neighbor, if you were my neighbor, I probably wouldn't want your stairs going right into my property. That's why I consider the setback important.
Yeah, and I think this is it coming off of an actual easement, access easement.
Yeah, I guess, Daniel, with a clarification there that these are, I can now envision that this is some steps coming off the backside. They're just, I mean, we have some on our property that, and if it's not going into anyone else's property, then I don't see that this is an issue then. I was envisioning these being wooden steps that were strapped to the side of the house, so.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So I will, I'll rescind my previous motion and make a motion to approve.
So apparently then we wouldn't need a variance request.
That was my understanding, was that this is a landscape feature that.
Okay.
Here's a.
Yeah, I think if it were called a landscape feature, we probably wouldn't even be still talking about this. But it's a construction change, right?
Yeah, because it wasn't on the original plans
Okay.
and they appeared. Did you all vote?
No, I think wait, any other comments about this? Anybody have concerns? Then we will move to approve, correct? Is that just approve?
That was Dan V's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Thank you, Chad.
I will be a little more clear in the actual definition description if we ever do something like this again.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The
And
more
maybe I
information,
should
the better.
include some pictures.
Yeah, the more information, the better.
I'm sorry.
We go through so many of these in a week. I mean, we have got 28 items this week, so anything you help us get through them, the better. So I think we have you for item 18.
Correct.
And 19.
19. Oh, I get my screen back, Joel.
18.
Daniel, if you hover over the base of your screen, you should get your menu.
My goodness.
No, it doesn't pop up for you.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
I need it. I need my dual monitors.
I have 3.
Really?
Daniel, just for the record, I have to leave at 1, so.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And
I think everybody does.
Alan left at 12.
But did he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks for the
What's
heads
a
up.
quorum? 50%?
Yeah, if somebody else leaves, you can't finish unless
Okay.
you hurry up.
All right, well, let's finish.
We have about 10 to go.
All right, how are we doing? 18? 208
Yes.
Polo Park. We'll try to make this quick then. So new construction. A pretty rare flat lot here. There is a variance for property coverage and open space. It's a little over.
What is this protected area situation?
So there's critical areas in the back. There's a stream that runs back behind the house here. And so, and Chad can now tell you more about it because he probably deals more, he deals with that with the county. But there is let's see. So when you're within a critical area as a wetland or a wetland buffer, and you're gonna propose to build a home, my understanding is that as a property owner, you have what's called a reasonable use for the enjoyment of your property, and they'll still allow you to build your home provided you jump through some hoops, and those hoops include doing environmental mitigation. And so they do a big assessment. They come up with a plan for mitigation. And they submit that to the county approves it and lets the house be built under this reasonable use. Is that about right, Chad?
Correct. With the creek in the back, there's a creek setback with the 75 and 100 foot. And then within that area, you have to mitigate and protect. And with the reasonable use, you're allowed to still build on your property. What we had to do is go through a reasonable use and buy additional property to move the mitigation and landscaping requirement for that with the county, and had to move some of this off so we can put the house in here and still have a property to use. What they did is then they required me to lock in an area of the property, which is 930 square feet of mitigation landscape, that with a split rail fence and buffered and protected, that nobody will be able to remove, do anything, or it'll be just stay there. And with that, because the census lot is actually small lot, it's getting, we're starting to get into the smaller lots of Sudden Valley as the good ones have been all purchased and built on. We run into a lot more obstacles to be able to still build and go through more steps. So that's what explains the hash marks in the back.
So the mitigation exists exclusively on this property, right?
That will be only on that property.
Okay. Still property coverage. I mean, you're asking some variances for this, even though they're giving you permission to build in this kind of protected area. You're going beyond the property coverage and open space.
The problem is when we get to these smaller lots, you start ending up with more and more of these obstacles too, where I think Sudden Valley is going to start seeing some of these propping up a little more, as the only lots that are available to start buying or purchasing or building on are starting to be the more difficult, harder, and smaller lots. So we are still a fairly small footprint, small house. The other existing houses are actually much larger than us all around. The coverage was partly as the driveway had, with a little bit of a safety turnout, pull out, we were exceeding the open space by just a tad. And then we have a patio in the back with a roof over it, but the roof put us over just a little bit with covering it, even though it's concrete. And then that's the reason of the variance is that it's still covered space. It's still part of the hard surface, the concrete patio.
Mm-hmm.
And with just a little bit of roof overhang over the normal 12-inch overhang over the building. And so.
Well, as you know from our previous conversations, we're not real keen on those variances because, I mean,
And
already, I
and
think
I'm actually
already
prepared,
generous.
because this design and everything was put in place before we actually started running into those conversations
Okay.
more frequently with
Yeah.
us. I do have an alternative site plan submittal
Okay,
waiting to be emailed to Joel if that's how you guys are leaning and feeling towards. You know, obviously we'd love to cover the back concrete patio so that it's usage for the owners and stuff. And since it's tucked in the back and it's out of the way and nobody sees it, nobody feels, it doesn't change the aesthetic look of the house. It's still hidden from everybody. I can remove it and then shrink our coverage on this house and keep me under both open space and roof coverage just there.
Well, another thing for my committee to consider is, and Joel, we have our own setbacks for wetlands and creeks. Are we within that with this design? What's the designation of this space? Is it a fish-bearing creek or what is it?
Maybe. I don't know it's a pretty significant creek, I think. I have to review the environmental plan to see if it's a non-fish bearing stream, 50 fish bearing stream, 100.
So how far are we 50 feet away? I know the county gave you some mitigation options, but you know, I want my committee to consider.
Yeah, let's see if this is the high water mark here.
Yep.
Measure from there to sorry, I lost it. Let's measure from here. And on the corner of the roof here, for setbacks and set value measures to the roof. We're at 43 feet.
That's if it's a non-fish bearing.
Right.
So we haven't determined whether it's fish. Do you know by any chance, Chad, what the designation was for that?
As far as I know, I don't know if it's fish bearing. It's
Which one? What creek is it?
This is off Polo Park Gate, coming in Gate 9.
Does the creek have a name?
Beaver, I think, isn't it?
Beaver?
Joel?
Is it Beaver Creek?
I think so. Hope I'm not lying.
Yeah, it's Beaver Creek.
It's 12:40. We're 10 minutes in.
Okay, thank you.
But if that was the case, the neighboring house would not have been approved to build or something like that. Or I'm not sure how.
Yeah, there are houses next door on either side that are
sitting on the creek.
Yeah, the Polo Park wetland report says streams map with fish presence. Under 2017 Whatcom County Code, potential fish bearing streams require a 100-foot buffer. So that is the 100-foot buffer you see on the plans here that they had to mitigate for. Oops.
Okay. And that's
So this is a fish bearing stream. Then he would need a variance then for those setbacks. Is that right?
Yeah.
But you need one anyway, right? Because it's 43 feet. It needs to be 50 feet for a non-fish bearing.
Correct. Yeah, even if we determined it was okay, based on things that you mentioned, we would need a variance for that. And all the more reason to not go beyond your property coverage and canopy numbers.
Well, that's why we had a proposal to change
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And which takes me under everything and actually keeps me in there.
Okay. Well, I mean, we need to determine whether this is fish bearing stream or not. I mean, 43 for a non-fish bearing, we could probably consider. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Do we have to, Daniel, question on that? I mean, we can say all we want and wave our arms in the air and approve something, but if the Whatcom County has a requirement, don't they have to also, wouldn't we want?
Well, I think that's what the mitigation was for. Is that correct, Chad?
Correct. And the
Whatcom
reason
County's looked at this.
Yeah, a reasonable use permit instead of just a normal site plan review with them that we had to go through, and they give you a reasonable use. You're allowed up to 4,000 square feet of reasonable use inside a buffer zone area, but you got to mitigate and find areas to how you're going to mitigate the usage and put landscaping somewhere and lock it in. So we were able to do that. But we also, in order to do the additional landscaping, we had to buy another parcel and move that Whatcom County buffer zone onto another property.
Well, one of my concerns is that we did turn down 2 properties from development at all because of wetlands. And they ended up actually selling their property because they determined it was unbuildable.
I'm sorry, Dan, were you finished?
John, go ahead.
Chad mentioned earlier that he's got a plan that either greatly reduces or eliminates the concrete patio. I'd like to
Well, now
see.
removes the concrete patio, removes the roof over the concrete patio, which takes me into that meets the roof coverage and the open space coverage.
I gotcha.
But it would still be within 40, it would still be
got-
within 43 feet of the creek.
Right. I guess what I'm wondering if that concrete patio were reduced in size, if that 50-foot marker could be achieved.
It's not. It's possible. I'm not sure how much that is without. Can Joel give me a 50-foot marker where it is?
Let's see. If this is 43 feet here, you have to go, I guess, 7 more feet in. It's 43.10. So 6 and 2.
Just for illustration purposes, what if you went to just ignore the porch and go to the corner of the building right there? What's that distance to the creek?
Corner of the building to the creek.
Yes, please.
The wall.
The overhang or well, the walls, sure.
Oh, yeah, overhangs at this corner is 51.
So there's our 50-foot. Takes that off the consideration, but then the patio would need to be reconfigured, maybe going in instead of left and right wide, maybe north and top and bottom wide. I don't know, just thinking out loud here.
One question I have then is, the existing houses are all within that. What process did they do to get approval? And if that's the way, can I go? Because
we don't know. Maybe they had a variance at the time as well.
Because I understand the variance,
or maybe the setbacks didn't apply back then.
Or maybe they just built it anyway and didn't get caught. I mean, all of those are possibilities.
Well, lot 116 house is actually fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
Within the last 10 plus years, 15 years. So I don't believe your rules have changed.
Yeah, they're probably existing at that time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a pathway to make this work still because of this. Not only did the county screw me for taking forever on this, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what I could do. Because if we go for a variance at 43, just keeping the patio, I can shorten it up some, but
that also we need to determine the fish bearing, the status of the creek.
Yeah,
because
sounded like it is fish bearing based off that report.
That's what I was gathering too, in which case it would be 100 feet.
Which then every single house in there should not have been built.
Right.
Which then we set precedent with allowing. And we're putting a buffer zone, landscape buffer protection that also helps protecting the creek too. From stuff and trying to follow we're trying to follow all the rules within what the property rights are for usage of someone's owning their property.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of people to answer to, and they found out that this current ACC approved something that close to a fish-bearing stream. We'd have some trouble, or at least get some nasty letters. I understand you went through this whole process with the county and they gave you this mitigation. Whether that's enough for Sudden Valley, I mean, this is our neighborhood. The county probably doesn't care quite as much as we do, but this is something for our committee to consider.
They care quite greatly.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah, we've turned down people before, and I don't, we'd be setting a precedent either way here. So that's why we're considering this so carefully, and why we're so adamant about the overages you have, the variances you're asking for. And this fish-bearing stream just adds to the complication of it.
Here's kind of an aerial of the stream. See it kind of winding around here.
Yeah.
And where's the house going? Where's the house proposed?
The lot here.
Yeah, there's quite a few houses right in there, but
Yeah, these ones are right up against it.
Almost every house in there is right all in there.
Now that when you show that here too, then that makes that property coverage stuff it should look a little more interesting, because now you got houses on 3 sides there, so you're going to drop another big house over the property limits right in there.
We're actually not a big house compared to the other houses next door.
But big compared to the property.
Big compared to the property.
Yeah, I think there would be a lot of variances here we'd have to consider, and I think the fish stream is the big one. I mean, I can't imagine going more than 50 feet on a variance for that, since it is technically 100 feet that we need to consider.
And you guys did deny me a front yard variance, shoving the house forward.
I know. We're
Well, at this point, there's only 3 of us left here. This is probably a significant enough decision that we need to have more committee members. Daniel, what would be the proposed path forward on this, given the questions we have around the coverage and the variance issues?
Well, I think definitely we couldn't. I guess we need to see what your other plan is, Chad. We haven't seen that, and I can't imagine approving anything closer than 50 feet to that stream. That's the minimum for non-fish bearing, but fish bearing it would be 100. I don't know.
And you obviously see where 100 foot is, because that's what.
I know.
For a creek for Whatcom County fish bearing or non-bearing.
It is, yes, I know.
So
and there is some mitigation here. The mitigation you did for the county is something we've already considered. So I think we should deny it submitted and see what your other plan is.
I just emailed it to Joel.
Okay.
Showing the coverage differences.
Is that a motion, Daniel?
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll look at your plan, Chad, and consider it next time.
So I'm denied and I have to come into the next meeting then?
Yes, please.
Now, I have a concern with the next meeting. That's 2 weeks from now. Is that not your past your cutoff for new construction then?
No, that cutoff is only for if you have to submit by then. So you're submitted.
Well, other than that, is there a way to look at all of it, and so that way if there's no other issue coming up at the second meeting? Like colors, aesthetics, landscape? Because I'd rather get all issues resolved.
Well, I think the colors and the lighting and everything was within scope. So I mean, we're addressing the inspector's notes, which is well, there was one of finished elevations and each wall are missing.
But probably irrelevant for a flat space.
Yeah. And I think the biggest one is going to be the property coverage and the variance for the fish bearing streams. I mean, that's a big issue. Like Daniel said, if it's supposed to be 100 and we're at 43 now, that's way too much. We got to get that number's got to come down considerably.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, let's see what the other set of plans looks like and how that helps. So.
What I don't understand what you mean by another set of plans. The only difference between the two plans is there's no roof over the patio. Which we
still have a problem with the fish bearing stream, Chad.
Yeah.
So you might.
But what are you telling me to push the house to, or 50 feet from the creek, 75 feet from the creek?
Because
otherwise we're creating some other additional issues. I'm just trying to find it where you guys want me to be at. Obviously, I'm already the house footprint is only, the house is only 1,900 square foot house,
right.
Period.
Yeah.
And, I'm restricted at the front yard. Side.
I mean, all we could do is consider your new design and see how it addresses the situation. I mean, it's a pretty big deal to be that close to a fish bearing stream, and that's what we need to consider. That's
and I
kind of our
understand,
obligation.
and with at least 8 houses I counted are all allowed and granted that Sudden
yes,
Valley.
but when we put our name on a variance, we didn't sign it for those. This is what we're reviewing, and we do consider that.
Well, I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying Sudden Valley.
No, I know, but we're charged with looking at each site individually, and we do consider that this has been done in the past. There's other houses there, but we take it pretty seriously. So we'll look at your new design. And I thank you for accommodating our concerns.
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a second. This was denied. Who made that motion?
Daniel did.
Daniel Rodriguez?
Yes.
Daniel Rodriguez.
And was it unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
We're at 24 minutes here.
We're done here. Okay.
I think we're done with this.
All right.
It's pretty obvious that you're not going to get through the rest of the agenda. So we can, I think the rule is we can't have another meeting for 48 hours notice, but I'll have to check into what the rules are. Because there's still people waiting.
Okay,
there's a couple of these, I think. Can we try to bang out some of these more simple ones?
Yeah, I think so.
We have 11 minutes.
Okay, let's look at, speaking of 11, let's go to item 11. It's tree removal.
Did you guys go look at this?
Is Richard here or Janet?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't get a chance to see this one.
Says the tree is dead 7 to 8 feet at its base. That's probably just a misstatement or something. But
I'd like to get an arborist report if it sounds like it's a pretty substantial tree, and it could be dead, or it could be a fire danger, it could be dead. That's I apologize that we didn't get a chance to see it, but I think we're going to need more than that to approve a substantial tree cut like that. Is that how you feel? Do you want to see an arborist report, or are you good with this?
I would I wouldn't want to make them pay for an arborist report if common sense goes out there and we, if the three of us were to stand there and look at it and then we said, no, this thing's dead.
Well, they didn't have time to do that,
At the
but
same time, we didn't have time to do that, nor did they attach a picture or anything with
yeah,
it.
a picture would have helped.
No, a picture would have helped a lot, or several pictures, that kind of thing. And a description, an accurate description of the tree, how big it is, how tall it is.
Yeah, 7 to 8 feet at the base. Monster tree.
Could we make a motion to deny, and then make a note that they can either resubmit an arborist report if they choose to do that. Otherwise, we'll add this to our list of ones to go look at, and we may still require an arborist report.
Right.
But like I said, I'd hate to have them spend the money on an arborist report if three people with common sense can go look at it and say, no, that thing's dead.
So deny as submitted, require more
Deny as
information.
submitted and give them the option to resubmit at the next meeting with an arborist report. Or if they're willing to have us take a look at it and make a determination, we can do that too. I mean, the arborist report would be the slam dunk. Then we wouldn't have to go look at it and they wouldn't rely on the judgment of the ACC. But if they're pretty confident that reasonable people can determine that this thing is dead, then we'll go look at it before the next meeting. So
that sounds like an extended motion, and I think Diane probably got that.
I did, Dan V.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
So we have two builders waiting. Bob Carlson, item 20. That's a single, and then John and Vlad for.
I think we could do 20 real quick here. Did anybody have any issues here? Looks like there's a pretty clear drawings. Plans are or have already been done, maybe.
Is Bob or Beto
Bob,
here?
Yeah, Bob is here.
I just have a quick question. The new 10 by 10 paver patio, is that inside the property line and the setback?
Yes.
Thank you. I think the rest of it looks very reasonable and well thought out.
I agree.
Yeah. Move to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dan, were you on that?
Yes, aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
And then you have new construction, but I don't know if you can do it. They usually take 15 minutes.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it.
Okay. So how do we handle that, Diane?
I'm gonna have to ask what we can do to reconvene. Are you guys willing to at least accommodate them and maybe the rest of the agenda? If you can meet next week briefly somewhere?
I probably could.
Don, Dan?
Yeah, I can make if we want to just meet at the office for a minute.
Or just do it on Zoom because they may need, they want to attend. Obviously, they're here.
I'm looking at this Polo Park one was something that has come back from the last meeting.
Yeah, to resubmit.
Yeah.
You guys have notes?
In answer to your question, Diane, I'm definitely interested in a short meeting, tongue in cheek, next week as a Zoom meeting.
Daniel and Dan.
Yeah, we can make it work. I would.
Somebody has to leave at 1, right? Immediately?
Yes. I need to
Yeah.
leave at 1.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like on this one, this Polo Park one, that there's variance for footprint, and they also want,
They lowered the driveway as we requested.
yeah, I mean, you
So
guys,
because of that, we need to put a retaining wall up.
right. And then there was a question on the retaining wall. I'm just wondering if you guys discussed this enough at the last meeting that you could look at what they did and say, yeah, they did what we needed them to do, so.
Yeah, I think
mean-
if Joel could look at that retaining wall and just based on what he sees, is that fine?
Yeah, I sent the retaining wall plans over to Dan to share, but it looked like, retaining wall along the back and the sides of the house. I'll show you real quick here. I don't know if we have engineering for these walls done yet. But you could make a conditional approval that we receive those. And then it's gonna be exposed aggregate retaining wall, so that meets the policy requirements.
Actually, that tree removal plan might be a little more complicated.
Be wrapped around the side of the house.
Joel, that
Yeah,
there's a note there that says stepped up retaining.
yeah, in the back here. So it's gonna be two shorter walls, kind of terraced. Is that right, John?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So if it's more than 4 feet, it requires engineering.
Well, I think what Todd said is their engineering's in the structural part of the drawings that specify up to 8 feet.
Okay.
There are details for that, and so if they don't go over that,
okay,
any one portion of the wall, I think they've got what they need in terms of engineering.
All right, yeah, back in the original permit set here. On all these details.
I think also in this one, which might complicate it, is the tree removal plan that we discussed, I think at length last time, that I'm not sure we'll have time to consider this time.
It looks like maybe it says 4 to 6 feet high.
So Daniel, you want to punt this one to a short follow-up meeting?
I think we should.
Absolutely.
And then there's more items also that you have to finish.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like item 23 that somebody wants to just change their exterior lighting to cylinder down lights. I mean, I feel like that's something we could probably approve in 10 seconds. We should probably do that so we don't make homeowners wait.
Motion to approve item 23 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Okay, but you still have more, so, I mean.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get together, but yeah, we wanted to make people
Okay.
happy as we
Get
could.
the easy ones.
Trying to get the low hanging fruit out of the way, Dave.
Yeah.
John and Vlad, will be back in touch with whenever we're gonna meet.
Okay.
And I
So-
apologize, but you
so
can see
sorry.
what we're up against.
So it looks like it's just the 101 Polo Park and 136 Polo Park that we have not gotten to.
And also
18 Clematis.
item 16.
Item 16.
Yep.
That one was pretty easy. Can we just, I mean, I can hang around for a second. Can we just take that one? I was just building some vegetative fencing, right? Do we have a problem with that?
Let me see what that was. I think that was kind of.
It was very complex.
They want to plant some trees, I think, right? It's not actual fencing.
Correct. 28 feet of view vegetative fence.
How do we feel about that?
You know, I have a hard time denying anybody's planting trees.
But provided it's on their property and not in the setbacks and so forth, I don't have a problem with this one.
Move
Motion,
move to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Aye. All right, plant those trees.
Then we need to come back to get 101 Polo Park and 136 Polo Park, right?
yes.
That's correct.
All right, I'll be back in touch with choices. How's that?
All right, thanks, Diane. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Diane.
Wait, adjourn the meeting.
We'll adjourn the meeting to a date and time to be determined.
Right,
Well,
but Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Yeah.
the meeting is adjourned at 1:00, 1:01.
Yeah, one,
But we're adjourning the meeting to a date and time to be determined, right? We're not adjourning the meeting, period.
well, for now,
Yeah, I guess that's true. What are we doing? What are we doing?
well, you're adjourning this meeting.
We're adjourning this meeting. Okay, we adjourn this meeting at 1:01.
4 hours.